Hi, everyone. Kathy Hochul is reminding everyone it's time to get that COVID shot. I know a lot of us want to forget about COVID, but we all know somebody who's contracted it and not feeling good these days. So here's how we prevent it. Just stop by your local drugstore, your pharmacy, your own provider. Get the shot now. Every year you should be thinking about getting that. It doesn't take any time at all.
Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top Censored News of the Year. All right. Welcome, one and all. Here we go. It is our end of the year special Top Censored News of the Year. I'm here with my co-host Craig Pastor Jardula. I'm Matt Weinglass. We're going to be with you here for the next couple hours, counting down the top censored news the mainstream media just refused to cover at all. If they did cover these stories, they did it in a very dishonest or sloppy way, and it was always on purpose. So glad to be here today with you, Craig, to go through these stories.
Yeah, I just want to say 0% chance that Kathy Hochul won that election fairly. 0% chance. Zero.
Yeah.
Every time I see her or Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I'm like, guys, how can you think elections are fair? Democrats don't even like those people.
No. Craig, now, look, we know that elections are always fair every time, except for 2016. That was the only one that was not fair because that was captured. That was a, Putin rigged our election. So that one was not fair, but all the rest of them have always been fair, always will be. And that's it. Especially 2020. That was the most honest one of all time, for sure. Yeah. So we were supposed to be joined by Kit Cabello today. He unfortunately had a last-minute family incident to deal with. So we are doing without Kit, but we did at the last minute decide to have the show itself today is sponsored by, here we go, Kitcoin. This is not a scam. This is real. This is the actual sponsor of our show. There it is, Kitcoin.
You get the Hawk Tua guarantee. Right? Kitcoin. There it is. Get it now. Buy it now.
You can get it right now, guys. Right on the black market. You can get this right now. Totally legit. Not fake at all. It is not a scam. We repeat, this is not a scam. Kitcoin. And we do hope Kit can join us on the next special or show next year, or there's a small chance he might actually still stop by today for a few minutes. So we'll see. But yes, get your Kitcoin today while supplies last.
Well, you out there in the audience, do us a favor. If you're not subscribed to one of our channels and you're subscribed to the other one, make sure you subscribe to one of them. In other words, we have the Pasta to Go YouTube and the Truthwire YouTube, and on Matt Weinglass X, Matt Weinglass is Homeless Left, Rumble. Make sure you subscribe to all those. But anybody on all those channels that are watching right now, and Kit, hit them up, bug them. Say they're talking shit about your Kitcoin over there on the Homeless Left to Go show, or the Pasta to Go show, whatever it is you want to call it, the collaboration show, and tell him to come on in. So maybe he'll stop by. That would be fun, guys. At least when you guys bust my balls and I'm not there, somebody's always sending me a message. Yo, they're busting your chops over there. You got to get in there. So do the same for Kit because we love him.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to next year. We will be doing some more shows and more specials like this together because we're all in the same field here. We're all in the same lane. We are all, championing independent media without any tribal allegiance. We are not part of any party or affiliation or mindset where we're looking for our team to win and the other team to lose. No, we're all doing this out of the sincerity and honesty of wanting to get justice and truth. And, the American dream for everyone should be that pursuit of happiness. And we can only do that if we approach every day in an honest, non-tribal way. Critical thinking hats are on. Those tribal goggles are off so we can see what's going on. And we're just trying to do the best we can every day. So that's why we appreciate folks like Kit Cabello and his Hardlands Media channel and what we're doing here, as Pasta mentioned, here on the Homeless Left, Pasta to Go, Truthwire as well, Fiorella. So there's so many of us in this lane. It's hard to even list all of them, but you guys know that watch this channel, you watch all the channels. Keep supporting all of us because we're all doing this from the same place. Yeah, exactly. So it's conviction, courage first before anything. So
it's kind of funny because somebody just left a message, just writing down an email in the chat over there too as well. What a crazy news week. I mean, that whole Elon situation, that HB1, wow, that was crazy, guys. We done told you. Everybody's running around like they think they had some type of revolution with the Trump movement. Like he cares about you. He don't give a shit about you. Neither does Elon Musk. They never have. They're playing you. I mean, look what they said, right? HB1, which first of all, he lied and tried to make it look like it was like, oh, this is for bringing in like talent we don't have, that we need, which is a whole discussion in itself, But then, we saw a lot of people that were on that HB1, when they got that work visas, the visas. I love the visas. There were cooks, there were strippers, there was everything. You got played. And, it's kind of crazy coming on the heels of the whole subway situation because I still see it on a regular basis right now, Matt. Everybody's just, especially on the populist right, is xenophobic as can be. They're anti-immigrant as can be. And you think that that's going to be fixing our problems. The fact that you really think that that's one of our big problems right now, you're delusional. And Trump has brought in all the technocrats. If there's one story that we probably haven't talked about this whole year that's been hidden to as well, is the fact that Peter Thiel is a Bilderberg WEF guy, same with Elon Musk. That's who Donald Trump's bringing in. He's advancing the technocratic movement. So good for you guys.
Yeah, well, we've had this debate a lot as far as, people getting their hopes up. We tell them don't hold your breath if you voted for Trump. And this is yet another reason why not to hold your breath. But we do appreciate the protest vote. We do appreciate the fact that you want to punish the Democratic Party. They're the ones letting us down now. If you felt like that was good enough reason to vote for the guy, okay. And then hopefully, you're ready to punish him next time. But there aren't really too many other options out there. I mean, we do have the third party. We talk about that. You guys know that we followed that the whole way through in the most honest way we could. And we just wish there were more people out there doing that, like following all the options and giving more coverage and more limelight, more attention to some of the other options out there, because this is not, we're just done. We're done with the two-party duopoly. We're done with this uniparty pitting us against each other. Making us desperate for the lesser of two evils, which it looks like the Trumpers, a lot of them are guilty of that. The same thing we knew that the Democrats were doing all this time. They're also doing this. Well, at least he's better than what we have now. Well, there you go. There's your lesser of two evils. So enjoy. But we got to keep doing what we're doing and fight the censorship machine every single day. Fight against the overlords. Fight against this, Zionism, which is it's corrupting everything. So we'll be getting to some of that in the countdown. You guys have been following our shows religiously every week. Then obviously we're going to be getting to these stories today in this countdown of top censored news of the year. Are we ready to get on to the start of the list here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We tried to get down to 10 for you guys, but we just had to throw a few in on top of the 10. So we're going to start with number 15. Today, let's get the music going here in the background. Let's see if we can try that for a little bit.
So we got 15. We got like a 5 honorable mention here, right?
So these are 5 honorable mention. We put them in somewhat of an order for you guys, but we're not.
Big ups on the tie. What color is that? Is that red? What is it? Show your shit right over there, buddy. Look at that. Oh,
yes.
Made me go change my shirt. I had a T-shirt on. I was going to put a trucker's hat on. I said, you know what? I'm going to go get the shirt I wore with Steve Poikin into the rodeo back in Vegas when we were doing the morning show on Friday. This was my rodeo shirt here, y'all.
I love it, man. No, we're vibing. We're vibing. I'm just a little more with the tie, but you got, we're having. Well, I think we have a good look going. Good vibes.
Trying to be an extra on Yellowstone, or whatever you call that.
I love it. All right, coming in at number 15, we have Boeing safety inspections management has been exposed. And we wanted to get this one in because this is very recent that we had yet more situations with Boeing going on with several airlines just during the holidays. We have one that have gone down. They crashed. I mean, this, you guys see this. We have 38 people died in a crash of a Bazarian airline. 38 people dead. The big one was the 737 Boeing. It crashed in South Korea just a couple days ago. 179 dead. An Air Canada flight skidded off the runway. We got a shot of one of these right here. Let's take a look at this.
에 따르면 비행기는 착륙 중에 랜딩 기어가 내려오지 않았고
This is not good.
착륙이 활주로를 이탈해 중앙 담장 끝까지가 폭발했다고 합니다. 다시 한번 전해드리겠습니다. 오늘 오전 9시 10분쯤 전남 무안공항에서
Now, the reason why we're showing this to you guys is because we have to give you some context. And for those of you that remember what this came from, why are all these Boeings, what's happening here? Is this are these all accidents, or is there something more going on? I thought you'd appreciate this, Craig. Fiorella tweeted on this incident and says right here, this is the South Korean plane, was a Boeing jet, of course. And this is the point, guys. This is the point. What Fiorella points out here, the former CEO, David Calhoun, got over $32 million in compensation in 2024, earlier this year, when he was asked to step down, not put in jail, not punished for what he did, but given some money, 32 million, and the corruption continues. They just kind of switched him out, swapped him out. It's a revolving door. They're just going to keep going with the corruption. This is a reminder that the whistleblowers, Joshua Dean and John Barnett, exposed the Boeing mismanagement earlier this year, and they suddenly died. That is interesting. Let's take a little flashback memory lane earlier this year and see how that hearing went against David Calhoun when they were exposing the mismanagement. Let's check out a piece of this one.
What is it that you get paid currently?
Senator, that's well disclosed in our proxy documents in each of the years that I've been employed.
Yeah, but what is it?
That's a big number, sir.
Well, let me help you out. It's 32.8 million this year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
That's a 45% increase over last year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
What is it you get paid to do exactly?
I get paid to run the Boeing company.
Yeah. So just help me understand that. I mean, do you get paid for transparency? Is that one of the metrics for your income?
I think the board counts on me for transparency.
Really? Because you're under investigation for falsifying 787 inspection records. The Boeing's under criminal investigation for the Alaska Airlines flight. You were investigated by DOJ for criminal conspiracy to defraud the FAA. This is all in your tenure. This doesn't sound like a lot of transparency to me. What about safety? Is that a component of your salary?
It sure is, Senator.
You know, have you seen the reports that the subcontractor that you used to make that door piece that fell out of the sky, that when the FAA went and toured the facility, they found one door seal being lubricated with Dawn liquid dish soap and cleaned with a wet cheesecloth, and another was being checked with a hotel room key card.
Dawn liquid soap. Huh.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Wow.
I just use that. At least it softens your hands while you do the dishes. Wait, is that Dove? I think that's Dove.
It's Dove.
It's Dove. That's the green one. Oh, Palmolive. Palmolive is the one that softens hands while you do the dishes. Look, to me, this is a little bit of there's a little bit of a red herring here. There's a little bit of a distraction, and I think yes, put it up in the chat too as well right here. DEI engineers at best. And I think that's what a lot of the right concentrated on, that there were people, with the DEI program, diversion, was it diversion, equity, and inclusion, or
diversity, equity,
diversity, diversion. Yeah, they're diversion.
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Like, so you hire people based upon their skin color, their religion, whatever, not are they capable enough to do the job? And that is a problem in itself, right? I think that when you think about it, when you look at it on its surface, I think there would have been a lot of minorities that probably wouldn't have gotten a chance to get a job because they've been left out. And, a lot of these CEOs and their management want to hire yes people, so they want to hire somebody they like more rather than the person who's probably qualified. So I understand the reasoning behind it, but I think it's a really messed up situation when you have people who are building planes or flying planes. You need to take the best people out there. You can't, look at them based upon something that really has no factor into the job they're doing. But this also, too, is in a way, I think Josh Hawley is also kind of keeping people not looking at the system itself, the capitalist system we have, right? Our system is based upon, the majority of it, the stock market. They talk about it all the time. It's how do they continue to increase profits? I was talking about my good friend Fred Edward, and we were talking about the healthcare industry. Well, the only way they can continue to increase profits is to deny claims. Well, that's the only way they can continue to increase profits and have those big chunk profits, right? I think that, what Josh Hawley is doing here, he's trying to scapegoat more the CEO more than anything. Yeah, he makes a ridiculous salary, whatnot, but they have to cut salaries across the board because they have to continue to show gains in the stock market. You know what I'm saying? And since they have to do that, they have to look at you not as a resource, meaning your labor, but as more of a price, right? More of an expense. And they're going to try to cut that expense. So that's what's going on right now with the whole industry itself. Yes, there's way too much money taken up at the top from some of these people too as well. But it's another reason across the board they have to do what they have to do, because the system itself, the capitalist system itself, has a lot of serious quagmires in it, right? How are you going to continue to show profits for your investors?
Yeah, because the shareholders have to come first over the people, and that's the system we live in. It's not a broken system. It's functioning exactly the way it was intended to, and we see it in all different industries. The airline industries, I mean, it's clear as day. But yeah, we can continue to pretend that these oopsies, these accidents happen, and they're doing everything they can with their Dawn liquid soap or whatever they're using to get it right and make sure people get to where they need to get to. But we know there's something more nefarious going on there, because that's the way our system is designed. So there it is. Boeing safety inspections, mismanagement has been exposed. Let's see if anything changes in the next year. I don't think it would, though. I don't think it will. I think Boeing
they got to pay out big lawsuits. You know what I'm saying? Or if somebody Luigi Mangione is a CEO of one of the airliners. I mean, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how the healthcare industry moves forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But right now, Humana is willing to make phone calls directly to me from their management team. They weren't for the first 2 weeks. I was in the hospital with my mom, desperately trying to get her out while the time was the most precious time there. But after I started complaining, whatnot, and then the Luigi Mangione situation happened, now I got a direct phone line. So we'll see. I'm interested to see how the reports come out. We can only, listen. I'm not going to stop traveling. But this makes it a little bit more nerve-wracking right now. The fact that there was a video, man, I believe, of somebody going in there and said, I wouldn't even trust, what's going on over here and fly on these planes.
Yeah,
cutting corners. And it's not just DEI. It's more than that.
It's more than DEI. But that's something definitely we appreciate. That's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. But yeah, let's not hold our breath that anything's going to get any better next year in the regards to traveling. Okay, next story. We have coming in at number 14, North Carolina Hurricane Helene looks like Lahaina 2.0. And as you guys know, this hits us a little close to home here. As you guys know, Craig and I both have spent a lot of time in Lahaina investigating the Lahaina fires from 2023. Every single sign of it pointed to nefarious behavior from the list is a mile long to how the police were instructed to keep people in the burn area. We went to the burn zone. We discovered some of the weird oddities as far as how the fires had taken down some of the areas. The death count was always off. Just the thing on the surface, which everybody saw, was nobody was getting any help. I mean, that's number one. The $750 check. Now we saw with North Carolina, it's exactly the same thing all over again. So that's why we're calling it Helene 2.0, or it's Lahaina's 2.0 is what Hurricane Helene looked like. Again, the Biden administration, the current administration, and we talk about what does it look like when it's time for voting time, Craig, and we have to punish the current administration. If I lived in Lahaina or lived in North Carolina, you can damn well bet whether I like Trump or not, I would like to stick it to Biden and Harris for coming out and giving us the $750 check. I can't remember which one it was. One of them got $750, one got $700. The point is, it was per household, so it's not even per person, and you have to file it. You have to register for it and wait for it to come in while you're sitting in your pool of water with no living room because your living room's gone. It's up to your neck in water. But yeah, I guess you have to wait for the paperwork to process before you get your measly $700. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that looks similar. I'm just going to show one clip so you guys, if you missed the visuals of this is just one of many footages that we found on Twitter But just to give you a sense of what North Carolina looked like after they were done, after the hurricane had come through. Here you go. Yeah. That's pretty much it. This is just your average neighborhood, North Carolina. Wrong place, wrong time. Just checking this out and try to take it in. And this is real. These are real people. This isn't just like statistics on a chart. These are the end of families, the end of neighborhoods, the end of people's lives, functioning lives, all gone. No help from the administration, no help from Biden. And then we leave a little closer, and we start looking at things that I don't know if we're allowed to talk about on YouTube. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about direct energy weapons. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about these things, Craig. We had a hard time talking about this in Lahaina as well, which is, again, is why we're calling this Lahaina 2.0. We should at least be having those discussions. Like, what's going on that a hurricane like this can go through a particular part of the country, that it looks like, how does it even get up to this level? We've looked at the maps to check that out. I'll pass it back to you, Craig. If you have any thoughts on this, I know we covered it in real time when it was happening, but since a few months have gone by, because this was at the end of September, it's now end of December. Do you have any new thoughts on this this disaster that took place very not so long ago?
Well, I haven't been to North Carolina or South Carolina in that region, been able to talk to people about what they experienced with the hurricane, and as far as the response, right? I have been to Lahaina, and I've talked to people about the response out there, and I can tell you the majority of people, and listen, you can take a guess on every single which way till Tuesday, till the cows come home, or whatever you want to say, on how this thing started. I heard every single theory in Lahaina, right? Some were a little bit more believable than others. But to me, concentrating on the recovery process, and the thing I'll hear people say, they'll complain about that household check, saying how awful that is, but they'll point to like how much money they'll give to Ukraine. And again, right now, just today, I think it was today or yesterday, they're talking about one of the biggest packages they're going to send right now. Janet Yellen talked about it. Joe Biden talked about it. They're pushing through billions of dollars. Why are we going to sit back and allow that to continue to happen, this money laundering scheme, this pyramid scheme they're using in Ukraine? Because they're funneling a lot of that money back to themselves. A lot of Democrats are doing that. You know what I'm saying? They got caught with the FTX scandal, but nobody held them accountable. But why can't we just forego a lot of that money, take those billions of dollars and use it, get a team into North Carolina right away, and get that place cleaned up, get people back moving, jumpstart the economy, put a lightning bolt in there. I mean, we could do this. We have the will to do this if we had to. The things that I think that I love, that I took in a positive way from Lahaina was the fact, the way that people joined together. And I heard the same thing that happened in North Carolina, but the lack of the willingness of the national government that, was so willing to arm, the Azov battalion in Russia, but yet wants to leave these people high and dry, leave them out in the cold. It just drives me crazy. Once again, you can talk about theories all day long, but Lahaina, you have a lot of people who knew that Josh Green was the keynote speaker. He's the governor. He was the keynote speaker for 15-minute sustainable cities at the UN less than 2 months before that fire ripped through. And it seems like a well-managed gentrification, because nobody's coming there to help these people out. They still haven't got answers, but they still haven't got the proper help. Well, we hear in those areas of North Carolina, there's a lot of rare earth minerals over there, right? So, I mean, that's why you even have questioned people saying this hurricane just kind of popped up out of the blue. So the same geoengineering, statements you heard over about Lahaina, you hear them in North Carolina as well. Yeah. And it is not talked about a lot, because at the end of the day, the response has been a big failure across the board when it comes to North Carolina and Lahaina. Yeah.
And if you're still out there and you're questioning the validity of why would our own government hurt our own people on purpose? That we hurt other people on purpose sometimes for the greater good, but we draw the line on Americans, right? That's where the oligarchy, the donor class, the big boys, they get up in the morning and they go, guys, we really should it's Americans, guys. We don't let's be a little kinder to them, because there are people. We can go F around in other countries and screw with them and experiment on the weather with them. We can do that. That's fine with them. But here, no. Guys, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. We don't prioritize Americans. We talk out loud like we do. People like Lindsey Graham says down to the last Ukrainian, as if protecting the American has more value. We might have a little more value on their chessboard. Like we might not be at the lowest piece of the pawn, but we might be this another expendable piece on the chessboard. But none of us really have any value, because the point is they want to capture the planet. And whatever piece they have to sacrifice to do that, you do that. So no, we are just as expendable as anyone else on this planet. And we have to get used to that idea. So when we see things like North Carolina, like Lahaina go down, we have to be open to that and look at it. Why do they need access to these minerals? What are they willing to do to get these minerals in North Carolina? Well, do we have the technology to do this type of thing? Yes, we do. So those are the questions we're asking, and we're going to continue to ask. But this tragedy will never, ever be covered accurately or honestly on the mainstream media, as we saw with Lahaina. You never got a follow-up story from Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow about what really happened at Lahaina, and you're certainly not going to get a follow-up story on what really happened in North Carolina unless you tune in to our shows and independent media alike. That's the only way you're going to get it. So.
Yeah, and you can easily go and look that up, guys. Like I said, he was the keynote speaker for 15 Minutes Sustainable Cities a couple months before I'm sure that Google has scrubbed the hell out of it and taken it down and moved it around. I saw recently when I looked at it a couple months ago that they were trying to debunk it as much as they can, but he's been one of those guys. And that, like I said, a lot of people have not come forth and been transparent about their global entity connections. And that's something that's really important right here. You know what I'm saying? If you're part of the WEF, if you're part of those goals, we need to know what, when, where, and why. But it's business as usual for Josh Green, and there's a lot of things. It's that song by the CNC Music Factory. Remember it, Matt? Things that make you go,
Yep, that's right. Yep. Everybody dance now. Okay, that's also a CNC.
I saw them at my grab what night, 1991.
Nice. That was a good time, man. They were popping that back then. They were popping. CNC Music Factory. Okay. Coming in at number 13, Bill Gates indicted in the Netherlands for lying to the public about the COVID vaccine. So we're going to get a little reminder on this from Hotspot. They did a great job, a little summary, and then we'll talk about it for a second. So here is the story on Bill Gates. This happened just about a month ago, and we're really looking forward to the trial unfolding here, and hopefully he has to be forced there to testify in public. But watch how this unplayed according to Hotspot. Here we go.
Gates has been ordered to stand trial in the Netherlands after he's been accused of misleading the public about the safety of COVID-19 vaccines. He's going to have to stand trial after 7 defendants who suffered from vaccine injuries accused Gates of misleading the public. Oh, but it isn't just Gates, ladies and gentlemen. 17 defendants, along with the former Dutch Prime Minister and current Secretary General of NATO, are going to have to stand trial as well. Oh, but it isn't just 17 individual defendants. It is the actual state of the Netherlands that will also have to stand trial. Now, of course, Gates tried to argue that he's not subject to the jurisdiction of the Dutch courts. However, due to his proximity to many of the people in the Dutch government and his proximity to many of the people involved in the COVID vaccine initiative, the Dutch courts ruled, nah, bruh, you ain't getting up that easy. We see exactly where that money been going. You gonna have to bring your ass over here. What makes this revelation even a bit stranger is the fact that just a couple of days ago, after this indictment was announced, Bill Gates gave $50 million in dark money to the Kamala Harris campaign. And it's important to note, Bill Gates said that he basically never gives money. But this election is different. Maybe someone's trying to buy himself some immunity from when all this shit hits the fan. All I know is, although Fauci and Bill Gates and these pharmaceutical companies may be immune in the US to any punitive damages that they owe to those who have been vaccine injured, it looks like the rest of the world isn't having that shit. And as more information begins to come out about exactly how much damage these vaccines have done, expect to see more headlines like this, and hopefully more people being held accountable, because it's about damn time.
Craig Pasa Jardula, your thoughts on the Bill Gates indictment in the Netherlands?
like, look, we've talked about this before, and I always go back to that whole thing from Burgess Meredith and Grumpy Old Men when Jack Lemmon tells him, Dad, I wish you would switch to the filters. And he goes, well, you can wish in one hand and you can crap in the other and tell me which one gets filled first. I mean, I just feel that way when it comes to having any type of person of power being held accountable. I would like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. And if that does happen, I mean, so many people have to be held accountable for what happened. I mean, Fauci alone, and there's been talks, that Fauci might get a pardon right before Biden leaves office. And the thing about it is though, I still think that people, the problem with this, when people in the United States look at this, they're still kind of confused, or they purposely keep their head in the dark about what's going on with these vaccines. Look at Pfizer's own information. They lied. They withheld information, right? But this is something too, you'll see a lot of people defend Donald Trump for his decisions on the CARES Act, on Operation Warp Speed, which I don't buy. I'm sorry. But I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on.
We should have gotten more masks. We need more masks. We need more ventilators. All that. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
When RFK joins the team, he says this stuff.
Yeah.
So people are going to go along, and not to mention he was bringing around the Johnson & Johnson family. So his head is so far in the clouds when it comes to this stuff, and there's no excuse for it. But I mean, look, I think this is a lot of just hot air. I look at it, the people in Netherlands, the leaders of Netherlands, just trying to show their people that there's some form of accountability, that they're just going to try to hold Bill Gates, responsible for what happened. But I know we have to see. But it hasn't been talked about at all. In fact, you have Kathy Hochul still out there pushing shit. She's not mentioning, well, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't push this stuff. Bill Gates is going to get tried in the Netherlands. You don't even hear a peep about it.
This reminds me of the Netanyahu conundrum of you're wanted on an international criminal court you're wanted. You're a wanted felon for, you wanted for crimes against humanity, but we're going to pretend that you're still cool here in certain parts of the world. So I think when you talk about hot air, yeah, it feels like that here because we're just going to cover it up. The media is not covering this. That's why this is on our list. I'm looking at this. I'm saying I think there might be a correlation, as the hotspot video pointed out, that he's giving $50 million to the Kamala campaign, hoping that will be something that by him investing there, it might help him if Kamala would have won the election. I think it does make a difference on the global scale, maybe not here. And they mentioned, Fauci's probably never gonna stand trial here in this country. No way. But just having this on the books, having Bill Gates having to get in a plane and fly to the Netherlands, I think it's kind of a big deal. I think they can pretend that it's not happening, but he's going to have to show up, and there's going to be a court record of it. So, and then there's going to be other countries that can also push this type of stuff to happen and maybe get him, like I compared to Netanyahu with the idea that the International Criminal Court, all the different countries he's not allowed in. So we can maybe see a similar thing with Gates having to be held accountable in different countries, if not as he's protected in the U.S. But I think it's something a little more than hot air.
I don't know.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know.
Okay.
When I hear people with the Nuremberg trials all the time say that stuff, it's like, yeah, who's going to be held accountable? At the end of the day, Matt, I still think this comes back to that same issue that we have, that we don't know clearly who's pulling the strings from up above, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there is this kind of mentality. It is a shadowy government of sorts where people are in the dark and they have all these stenographers and faces who will take the blame, and the people up above will gladly throw these people under the bus. So I don't know, maybe if it does get to a point where they have to throw Bill Gates under the bus, so be it. We'll see. I'm just, once again, I'm a little skeptical.
Okay. No, fair enough. Okay, coming in at number 12. Motorola pagers simultaneously explode in Lebanon, injuring close to 3,000 people. Were detonated by Israel, the Mossad. This goes back to the idea about the planes, how safe they are. And we saw a lot of people celebrating that this happened. A lot of Zionists saying, look what we're able to do. Whether Motorola was directly knowledgeable of this or not, we do know that the Mossad had access to this machinery had intercepted it somehow and had cooperation on the inside. We don't know exactly the details of how they did it, but it was a long drawn out operation, and they were able to detonate these pagers all at the same time. And as we've learned, they've gone to mostly citizens, doctors, nurses in places that, supermarkets. And then you have the Zionists celebrating this with no regard for how were they able to get this done. And because you're calling these people in Hezbollah, even if we took you for your word, which it's not true, but let's pretend, for example, that for just for hypothetical purposes, the people whose pants were detonated and they were severely injured, if not killed from this, that they were all guilty of terrorism. Let's just pretend for a second. Yeah. This goes back to the plane travel and the 9/11 fear baiting of us that anyone could be a terrorist. Take your shoes off at the airport. You don't know who the next person that's going to be sitting right next to you on the airplane is going to have a box cutter, and they're going to be able to, storm the cockpit and take the plane down. So people who are celebrating this have to understand that we now know this technology exists, that if you want to blow up somebody in your plane because you say they're a terrorist, you could be on that plane. So this kind of opens up a Pandora's box of nobody is safe. We know this. So even if you're a Zionist out there looking at this story and celebrating this, you have to understand there ain't nothing to celebrate here when we have the ability to detonate on command a machine, a piece of technology that we all have in our pockets. And the airports don't confiscate our cell phones when we get on a plane. So this could happen at any time, anywhere from here on out. That's where I'm at with this. Thoughts, Craig?
Makes me want to punch, what's his name? The dude, Michael Rappaport, right in the face. I think I made a video goes beep, beep, boom, ha, beep, beep. Like he was laughing about it, and people were cheering this on. And it is disgusting, I mean, when the ruling class takes these tactics, and it just makes me think, like you said, it could be on a plane and that thing goes off. Oh, Mossad would never do this. They're the most. What's the word they say? The most caring.
Oh, they're the most human. The Mossad, the Israeli, the IDF. They're the most humanitarian, or the most
whatever they call them.
Caring. The most caring and thoughtful.
We're here. It is almost thoughtful, caring, careful, whatever they. We are here. It is December 30th. We're a couple days out of the new year, and it hasn't stopped. It's been non-stop. The fact that they're still killing all these women and baby and children in Gaza every day. Somebody's dying every day. You hear like 50 people that get killed or 20 people get killed, and it doesn't make a difference. They don't care. They've justified. There are babies with bullets in their heads. They can't even hide this, and they're still going along. So they don't care. And like you said, anybody could be a victim to that. Anybody, when you start using these tactics over here, we're all up, for grabs right now. Any one of us. We the wrong place, wrong time, and they'll justify it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And just for those of you who think that maybe, we haven't verified whether it really was Israel or the Mossad. We don't know for sure who did it. Really? Because they were celebrating it over on Israeli media. Check it out. We'll play a few seconds of this. They're telling us this in Israel. Here it is.
נכון, מירי, פרטים מאוד מעניינים שמתפרסמים ממש בדקות האלה. קודם כל, המוסד הישראלי הוא זה שניהל את הפעולה והוא זה שעומד מאחוריה.
According to the report, the Mossad has inserted explosive materials into the batteries of those communication devices and exploded them by increasing the temperature. And we'll explain in a moment how it works. But if the insertion of this material was made, even those before the reached the devices, the hands of Hezbollah activists, meaning in the last few months, Hezbollah activists around Lebanon with real Israeli weapon in their hands. So according to this report, the explosive material used by the Mossad is called petin, which is one of the most explosive materials known in the world. Now, just to give you guys a context, we'll turn this one. We'll get this off. Yeah, they're telling this in detail, how they did it, how they were able to operate that, get this operation to happen, and they consider it a success, and they're celebrating this. Because they define the people they targeted as terrorists, people that we needed to eliminate. But they're telling us how they did this. So Yeah, nobody's denying that. So with all that information, I will say if I have any Zionist friends, if we have any Zionist friends out there, that's kind of a conundrum at this point. How do you have a Zionist friend at this point? But we'd like to give them a chance to maybe, relook at their ideology and say, do you really want to be associated with this anymore? I mean, this is something that can be used against any of us. Even if this just went to the terrorist pockets, even if it was targeted to what you consider to be terrorist, the fact that this technology exists and can be used at any time should scare the shit out of all of us, period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it is that you still hear a lot of people out there, like idiots like Tim Pool, who are now going to work with the Daily Wire. He's been a Israeli cuck all along. Remember, Jayme, when we were there at the Libertarian Convention and one of his producers was trying to get Thomas Massie, he was trying to goad Thomas Massie and to say it's not a genocide. And Thomas is like, I don't use those words, right, guys? But let me tell you something. From what we understand, we see 1% of the population, a lot of women and children getting wiped out. That's not good at all, right? And I'm not going to listen to my AIPAC representative or do what they would tell me to do. But you have people saying that, oh, well, if you talk to most people, the majority of people and Americans, they justify what's going on over there. No, they wouldn't justify what's going on over there in Israel if they have known the truth, if they understand exactly what's going on, if they understand the bloodthirst of this Zionist geopolitical occupation. I don't care what your religion says. Being a Zionist has nothing to do with being a Jewish person. It's nothing to do with being a Jew, right? Being a Jew is your religion. Being a Zionist is a geopolitical colonizing mentality. That's it. And you have to be able to separate the two. But the fact that you hear these people still saying that, no, most Americans support Israel, I don't think so. What's going on over there? I sure don't. Seeing this on a regular basis. And also, let's not forget that the weapons, not only the Nazis and the Azov battalion and the Kiev regime are getting in the Ukraine are American-made weapons. Same thing with the way the Israelis are dropping bombs. American-made weapons. They're using them on a regular basis. The blood is on our hands. And once you understand exactly what's going on, I'm thinking that the Hamas excuse, what Israel did on that day, Hamas, but Hamas, I think it's starting to wear out because people understand Hamas is something that was created in the 80s. This has been going on since the late 40s. You know what I'm saying? Hamas wasn't there in 1946 when, a bunch of Zionists showed up and kicked a bunch of Palestinians and threw them into the Gaza Strip, right? It came much later. So I think people are starting to get hip of what's going on. I'm very happy to see some people on the right that are kind of pushing back against that. People like Sneeko and Myron Gaines and all those guys and Candace Owens. And, what I'm saying? I'm glad for you guys pushing back against that. You get the Stu Peters and the Amblazarians, and they got to be a little bit careful about the way they talk too. You don't want to come off like an anti-Semite, right? You want to come off pushing back against the geopolitical colonization greater plan. And I don't know if it's there on the top 10, but holy cow, what happened in Syria? Woo! We'll get to that later.
We'll get to Syria later.
Wow. That shit happened.
Yeah.
I went to go make a cup of coffee. I came back and Syria fell, and it was a coup.
Yeah, 100%. 12-day coup. Done it.
Wow.
Instantaneously.
Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, no one's talking about
it, baby.
Yeah,
nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. So that's the Motorola story. Okay, moving on. We are
very dangerous, by the way.
Yeah.
What happened with the Motorola?
Yeah.
People need to be they should be outraged about that.
Yeah.
That's what our tax dollars are going to? Hell no. Enough is enough. They're pissing and shitting all over your civil liberties, ladies and gentlemen. That's a communication device.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're not going to let that story get away. You could be sure, you could bet your ass that's going to be done again. There's going to be more technology used against us in the future. For the purpose of democracy, the purpose of stopping terrorism, whatever the hell they tell us it is. So this isn't the last we've seen of this type of maneuvering and using it against the people of Earth, the people of a planet. They can use this against anybody. So that's all of us. So we should all be concerned. Okay, moving on to number 11. Coming in at number 11.
The music, Jayme.
Here we go. Jayme, music. There we go.
Yeah.
E for journalism. Okay, yes. Well, we all know that Julian Assange was freed earlier this year This is what it looked like when he was coming. This was a big moment for him, for us, for independent media. Anybody covering this at the time, anybody covering this story the whole way through the last several years is on the side of journalism. Anybody ignoring this story, we could tell you're not a journalist. You have no journalistic integrity. Your organization's against journalism. If you were going to call him a terrorist and say he was putting people in danger by reporting actual news and exposing the crimes of our government, of our CIA, of the Mossad, don't get it twisted. Assange exposed everything all the way up the food chain. WikiLeaks had a credible record that you've never seen from any journalist organization of any sort. Never had to retract anything. So you're talking about top-notch, history, resume, credibility, and everything that came out was something that the people needed to know, and he was punished for that. Now, here's the part they won't tell you, and I'm going to play a clip of him talking about what it means to have to plead guilty to journalism. What are the circumstances surrounding his release? What did he have to cave into? And we all understand what he had to do. We understand he had to get back to his family. So nobody's against what he had to do. Nobody's saying that. However, we are standing up against legacy media who will not tell you the conditions of what happened and how he was able to get home to his family. So here it is from Julian's mouth, and then we'll discuss it right after. Here we go.
To be totally clear, I am not free today because the system worked. I am free today after years of incarceration because I pled guilty to journalism. I pled guilty to seeking information from a source. I pled guilty to obtaining information from a source. And I pled guilty to informing the public what that information was. I did not plead guilty to anything else. I hope my testimony today can serve to highlight the weaknesses of the existing safeguards and to help those whose cases are less visible but who are equally vulnerable.
Mainstream media did give a little bit of attention to the story, but again, they did it in a very dishonest, sloppy way, and we didn't get the full extent of what the circumstances were. And there's other mentions that another one of his conditions, Craig, if you remember when we covered this, when it happened, another one of his conditions. So not only did he have to plead guilty to journalism, that he actually admitting that he did a crime when he did not, he also had to agree to never mention Israel again. He can't report on it ever again. That's part of the condition, and it's really, really sad. It's troubling. However, we do, like I said, I have to emphasize this again. We commend what Julian Assange has been through. He's a hero, and whatever negotiation he had to have, we get it. We effing get it. He set a high bar for the rest of us. And we can continue doing the work that WikiLeaks did from the start, and we can continue that now. And so that inspiration is enough for me, at least. And I'm assuming I'm speaking for you, Craig, but you would agree that he set a high bar for us to follow in his footsteps. And I don't care what he had to do to get home. He needed to get home.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people mentioned that that's one of the things they're really happy about. The fact is that, he went home to his family. He's going to be able to play with his kids and all that, but the thing that you pointed out, I mean, Israel's everywhere. The Zionists are everywhere. They're even protecting themselves on the Julian Assange situation. And I think there needs to be more. Unfortunately, there's not, but there needs to be more people, outraged about that. Like why the fact do they get immunity for everything? And, for me, one of the biggest signs I've seen is they show Tel Aviv and the beach and how beautiful it is and everything that's going on and all the tax dollars we send them. And then they show a picture of Philadelphia or a picture of North Carolina, what you showed today.
Yeah.
I mean, how long are we going to take it on the chin, ladies and gentlemen? Wow. Keep going along with it.
Yeah.
Keep going. And the praising of Donald Trump as he's beautiful, beautiful Israel.
Donald Trump could have pardoned Julian Assange on his way out the first time. Remember that, guys. So this idea that he's for journalism, for, fighting against censorship and, Elon and Twitter. No, make no mistake.
5 journalists killed the other day in Israel again, right?
Oh,
how many? We've seen this time and time over a couple hundred journalists now whacked. Nobody cares. Nobody says anything. Nobody in the States, not even reported on. Nobody cares. Terrible.
Man, I feel bad that this came at number 11 myself. When I was happening, it's a huge story. We don't want to forget about this, but man, I can't believe we have 10 bigger than this. But they're all big. That's the point. So we're trying to make this list for you guys, but everything's important. These are the stories you're just not going to get told in an honest way when you turn in mainstream media. We know you know that. That's why you're watching us right now. So we're just trying to remind everyone as we get to New Year's. We're counting down to the New Year's. This is top censored news of the year, and I think we're now heading into the top 10 stories the mainstream media just did not do justice to, so we have to do it for them. Are we ready for number 10?
Let's do it.
All right, cue the music. Here we go. Coming in at number 10. Democratic Party primary. Biden with Kamala, while MAGA embraces RFK Jr. Now, this is a massive story. We have it at number 10, but we have to understand that the significance of these points in this story are the stuff, again, the mainstream media will not tell you. There's people we still talk to today. I just had conversations with people over the holidays about the Democratic Party did not have a primary, and they go, I guess that's right. I forgot that didn't happen. Yeah, that's right. It didn't happen. That was by design. Let's take a look back at the moment where the party realized that they were going to do this switch. And as a lot of you guys watching know, this isn't something they improv. This is something they timed deliberately, just late enough where they didn't have to have a primary and just early enough where people wouldn't notice. Here is that moment that went down when Biden, it was right after that debate, and they knew Biden was not going to be the guy they thought he could be. Here we go.
There was a big problem with Joe Biden's debate performance, and there's also just a tremendous reservoir of affection and love for Joe Biden in our party. And so this makes it a difficult situation for everybody, but there are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party because it is a political party and we have differences of point of view. I mean, if you compare that to the non-existent dialogue and conversation that took place in the Republican Party after Donald Trump's criminal conviction on 34 counts, it's remarkable.
And then immediately after this discussion that we saw happen where they were like, Lou, we need another option. We need to come together and figure this out. They were ready to roll this woman out. And this is the first time you knew immediately when you saw Kamala, they'd already changed up all the designs, all the graphics. Joe Biden was out, and they parade her right through the main office, and she doesn't even speak. That should have been a red flag to all you guys watching. They didn't even trust her to open her mouth on her very first appearance on camera. Check this out.
Wilmington, Delaware. Here she is. Do we have audio of this? Let's listen for a moment. Sort of the tail end, she's walking through. So the idea, this is all the staffers who are now her staffers, right? This was Biden-Harris campaign HQ, Wilmington, Delaware. Now it's Harris headquarters. Camera's off to the side a little bit. You almost get the feeling with them quieting down like she's going to speak, or she's just left the room. Exit stage left, I think, is what we've seen.
Time to head. That way, please. Stop, please hold for a hot second.
Yeah, they're getting the press out of there at the moment. All right.
Oh, yeah, got to get the press out of there.
Don't let the press stay there.
They can't have him asking questions about this idiot candidate. This idiot candidate who can't even think of something to say when her monitor goes off. You remember this one?
Remember his number? 32. Today we got 32 days until the election. So 32 days. 32 days. Okay, we got some business to do. All right. 32 days. And we know we will do it. And this is going to be a very tight race until the very end. This is going to be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog. and we know we have some hard work ahead.
So she said nothing, nothing to say. She can't think for herself.
32, Matt.
Yeah,
32 chipmunks sitting on a branch,
yeah,
eating lots of cornflakes on my uncle's ranch. 32, motherfucker.
And if that isn't insane enough to have to sit through that shit, this is a reminder of how she went out at the very end. So this is the drunken concession, not really concession speech, but she waited a long time, then finally said something, and this is the best she could come up with. And everybody knows she was inebriated during this. But just to remind you, we lived through this. This is what they put us through, and we're supposed to believe that this is a legitimate primary season that led to a legitimate election.
Just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
So that's just a highlight reel of what we lived through. And again, if you talk to if you guys are, been home for the holidays, or you're talking to anybody that was part of this and actually voted for this idiot, you tell them, hey, do you know that we didn't have a primary? They go, we didn't think of that, or yeah, it was weird. Do you know that there looks like she has a substance abuse problem? Well, I don't know. I show them this footage. I mean, this is what we lived through, and a lot of the country, almost half, I would think, was either not paying attention close enough, they were living in denial, they were captured, or they knew this was happening, but they were so embarrassed about it, they thought we would just not talk about it, and they just didn't want to acknowledge it. But this did happen. And so before I get to the RFK part, because that's on the same story, this number 10 story, the RFK part is to counter this, to show you guys what else we lived through at the same time. We'll get to that in a second, but any new thoughts on this timeline, Craig, now that we're removed from it, looking back? We lived through all of this year.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to talk about. And I'll do it in the quickest way I know possible.
Okay.
Because I think that there's still, when I've been watching a lot of mainstream media here, I've been throwing it on here, they try to get a sense of what they're talking about. The thing that's really just driving me crazy more than anything is that the Democrats are trying to figure out what to do in 4 years right now, 2028, and they show the picture of Kamala, a picture of Gavin Newsom, a picture of Gretchen Whitmore. And this is why I said the election system is so important to get straight, because when you have a system like this, it's very, very nefarious, right? In other words, not only are you stealing something that doesn't belong to you, you're duping the people and making them believe that the masses, that's their choice. And that's very scary, because right now, the Democrats are not left, in my mind. The Democrats are just stenographers of the ruling class. They are all about the agenda of the World Economic Forum. I mean, they went full retard, right? Like, they went crazy. I'm sorry if that I shouldn't say that on YouTube, but the movie Tropic Thunder, right?
Tropic Thunder.
Don't you ever go full, right? They went full that way. They went that way on their foreign policy. I mean, they're holding the guns and the bombs that dropped in Israel and Gaza, which a lot of people stood up for. Not enough people stood up against what they did in Russia and arming that whole regime and what they did in 2014. They just were holding the gun in the bag and the money and all the decisions when Syria just fell in a coup. And I mean, they're been crazy on foreign policy, but then the culture war issues have really, really been brought in, right? I mean, there's one thing about, the LGBTQIA community that you want to talk about, and everybody deserves respect, and nobody should disrespect those people, right? And you can have that argument about, should biological men be able to play in women's sports? And I get that, but what they've incorporated into the schools, right? They've just let themselves hang out to dry. There are many old school leftists and Democrats that I talk to, old school Democrats, that are like, no, this party has lost their mind. And on top of pushing these crazy agendas that make them look so wacky, that make them look like Donald Trump to be like a comparable candidate, right? Because the Democrats are so crazy. They also stand for nothing for the working class. They don't stand for labor. They don't stand for anything. They might try and fool you, and they're really trying to play those old cards. So, we're the lesser of two evils. The Republicans are inherently xenophobic. They're inherently racist. You need to vote for us. They use the term fascism instead of racism, because they don't use it in the old sense of corporatism, because they would be guilty themselves. I mean, that's why you don't see a lot of people go after Donald Trump on emoluments, because it would open up the door for all the Democrats in the House and the Senate. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? But right now, we should be at a situation where you hear this situation, the way they just kind of slid Kamala in is, what does the Democratic Party even stand for? And if we had fair elections across the board, because they screw grassroots people, grassroots Democrats, grassroots leftists that want to make a difference for that party, they keep them out too. That's who suffers the most. And instead of having the discussion about this party should be completely disintegrated and blown away into the wind, they're talking about who are they bringing out there next time. And it's purely based upon an anti-Republican, anti-Trump rhetoric. It's nothing positive. It's all negative. And so what they did with this whole situation of just sliding her in, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, and the reason why the RFK Jr. part is important here is, as Craig's describing, the Democratic Party basically just did a 180. It was maybe a gradual process. I don't think it happened overnight, but this idea that everything they stood for, inclusivity and diversity and acceptance and bringing everyone together, all that went off the table. That's done. That's done. You have to check certain boxes to be in the club. You have to vote for the person we shove in your face. You're not allowed to ask questions. You have to hate anybody else that asks questions. I think that's the most important part of it, that you have to hate other people who don't check those boxes. So by definition, this club that was supposed to be about diversity and equality and acceptance is no longer true if you're being ordered to hate somebody who doesn't check those boxes. Meanwhile, on the other side, the side that we were told was all these things, like very specific type of white, privileged, racist, misogynist group of MAGAs. These are very specific type, and they have their little check boxes, and nobody else is part of that. You have to fit their mold to be accepted, because they're the ones that do that. We're the diverse people. They're the ones who are not. And you see the switch happen when RFK Jr. is accepted by the MAGA. Now let me be clear on the wording here. A lot of people said the big moment was that RFK Jr. endorses Trump. That's not the big moment. The big moment is what came from that endorsement. What came from, because you can endorse him and that's the end of the story. Something happened that was bigger than that. When he endorses Trump, it's the MAGA voter that then embraces RFK Jr. That's the moment. That's the moment where the MAGAs themselves, regardless of whether Trump's going to actually put the policies, and we can talk about, the mask and the ventilators, and is he really going to listen to the guy? That's different. That's a different conversation. I'm talking about the voter base and what the ideology is of that voter base, and the fact that they opened their arms and accepted into their group somebody completely different than them, somebody who's been the family of the Kennedys have been lifelong Democrats, and they're saying, welcome to us. We embrace you. We are diverse now. We are open arms. We have inclusion and we have acceptance. So all the things have reversed. And I'm just going to play one little piece of this. This is just RFK Jr. at a crowd. Don't worry about listen to what he's saying, but listen closely to the crowd. That's the part I think is the most important of this story.
Thank you, President Trump.
Bobby.
He also came out there to There Goes My Hero.
Yeah.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA.
So we'll pause there, but you can see the speech that he prepared for this moment is acknowledging the people he's talking to, and they're feeling acknowledged. They're feeling like that they have value and that their story matters. The fact that their candidate almost got assassinated and killed, the fact that they have problems with the CDC and the FDA, and the fact that he's going to bring this challenge to big pharma, just challenge to big food, to the candidacy, to the administration. Hopefully, again, that's another discussion. But we're seeing this embrace of these ideas that are important ideas and should be human ideas. These should not be politicized ideas. That make America healthy again, I think, is the biggest thing that comes out of this. And we juxtapose it with what we just saw, you guys. We pieced you through what the Democrats did, complete reverse, complete bizarro version of what this is. Again, we can discuss if this stuff is even going to make a difference in the administration, but the voter climate, the climate of the election itself, this is the story that came out of it. This is the moment the parties shifted, and this became the real populist movement from the MAGA side. Again, if nothing happens, nothing happens. But this embrace, that's the story. Kamala just, Xing out anybody who questioned her or questioned the Democrats. You're out, buddy. That's the defining moment of the Democrats. Two completely polar, different party experiences at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes when I look at that situation, I say to myself, was Bobby going to do this the whole time? Was this the plan right there to escape, like to sheep herd, people? Look, I said this before. Donald Trump served the same purpose as Bernie Sanders. Their only existence is to sheep herd you back into the two-party duopoly. Both Bernie Sanders could have left and ran third party. Bobby Kennedy had a chance to run third party as an independent, right?
Yeah.
And it really sucks. You guys went to the whole him declaring and being an independent. It was a couple days after the whole Gaza situation where a lot of people walked away from Kennedy on that day. I sure did. I know a lot of other people did. I was praying that he didn't go near his phone because I knew it was going to be bad, which, taught me a very serious lesson there, right? And no longer, you cannot compromise with Zionism on the backs of the Palestinians. It's their blood that's being spilled. And when Bobby Kennedy told me those thoughts about like how he stood on Israel right there, I mean, obviously nobody anticipated what was going to happen on October 7th, right? But I mean, I told myself lies, right? Like, if there's a serious situation that goes down there or a potential war, he'll at least call for a ceasefire. No, he didn't, right? Instead, he said that they're the most pampered people on the planet. He said that they were justified in doing what they're doing. So when you see these things over here, it is a little bit, it makes you scratch. Once again, it's things that make you go,
Yeah.
Was this what you were going to do the whole time there, Bobby? Because if you ran, and the reason why he got so much applause, and if you ran as a third-party candidate in a lot of these battleground states, you would have took away more votes from Donald Trump. It's just that simple. Because a lot of people who were Bobby Kennedy supporters and still are supporters are people from the medical freedom movement, where Donald Trump got it wrong, Bobby got it right. And that's why they were supporting him, because they felt so strongly about the issue of the COVID protocol. So, I mean, sometimes I just think it was written into the script there, Matt.
Yeah. And you might be right about that. But again, this story is about the people, the voters, and their embracing of this guy, and specifically his targeting of the big pharma and big food, and his make America healthy again mantra has been embraced. That's the moment this becomes a real populist movement. So let's hope he does better than Bernie did by stabbing us in the back on our side. But even then, even if it's as bad as Bernie, which it's not, by the way, because Bernie didn't even make it this far. So it can't be as bad as Bernie. But even if it was, the silver lining is that we were motivated to get in the street and start something. So that's what we're seeing from the MAGAs, something a lot bigger than I think ever happened in 2016. I don't think they had this type of enthusiasm of a real movement that we could open arms and say, everybody come involved, whoever you are, whatever the tribe is that you're leaving, right? What we do on the show, whatever you feel homeless from, you're welcome here. That's the story. And that's the one that's going to resonate through years to come, regardless of if Trump or RFK get anything done at all. This happened. So,
what? Really quickly, Matt, just so we can encourage people to keep doing it. Can I read my two super rays real quick? I know one just came in from Dave Burt, I believe, right? There it is. Dave Burt, thank you very much for the $2 raid contribution over there on Rockfin. It's always appreciated on Truthwire. Love you over there for that. And I think there was another important one, too, by Hemcar. Hemcar Old School. We love you, Hemcar. Donated $2 over on Rockfin. Guys, you can go to my my Pasta to Go YouTube. Make sure the link is down below, Jayme. We'll share the link, guys. You can always leave a super chat over there. Biggest story of the century. Pfizer was forcing orphans deemed to have AIDS to take extremely painful drugs. They'd poke tubes in their stomach if resisted. Had mass graves too, no different than Hitler's X-ray experiments or Saddam killings his own people. See Children as Guinea Pigs, 2004 by the BBC. This is the story too, that there's a whole graveyards out in New York from Dr. Fauci. You know, they took kids that didn't have anybody to advocate for them, and they used them as guinea pigs. And you know, this is something that a lot of people were looking into right from the get-go. As you know, once again, there goes that man again, Dr. Fauci. What happened during the AIDS pandemic? There goes that man again. Yeah.
Fauci was the bad guy in Dallas Buyers Club. Matthew McConaughey forgot about that. He forgot that the performance that won him his Academy Award, the bad guy was Dr. Fauci. But boy, do we have short-term memories when it comes to the fear of health pandemics and plandemics. And we're dealing with another bird flu scam right now, which you guys know we covered last week on the show. It's just tragic that people have such short-term memories on these things, but we keep a paper trail. We keep a record. The internet doesn't go anywhere. We can capture it. We can screen grab. We can download these videos and we can play them for you guys and remind people how horrible these people are. You know,
they don't care about you.
Yeah.
They hate you. They want you to die.
They want you to die.
They call you useless eaters. You're useless.
Yeah. The useless class. The useless class. That's the new class that Klaus Schwab talks about. So welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the useless class. Okay, cool. Let's moving on to number 9. I know this is a story that is near and dear to a lot of us, especially you, Craig. And we've been covering this a lot lately, but we had to throw this in here. And I threw the question in here. So, number 9, alone, whether it's a PSYOP, hero, or villain, is a defining moment for the people. So, yes, we can talk a long time about this one, but this moment, and I'm going to do this right now, just while we're talking here, put this up. This is the
firearm.
There we go. Just kind of throw that perp walk up there while we're looking at it. Yeah, we could throw the music down just a little maybe. But this is, as we know, Luigi Mangione was the apparent, he's been accused of killing on camera Brian Thompson, the CEO of the healthcare company that was the United Health, which is the number one culprit in denying claims of people, up to 32% denial claims. The statement made on the bullets, the deny, defend, diffuse on the bullets, making a statement for the people to come out in support of something actually being done against the ruling class represented in this act. A lot of people talk about, is this a PSYOP? That's another question. We've had that discussion as well. It's certainly pitting people against each other. There's a lot of right-wingers, a lot of people on right-wing media that is calling anybody cheering for this guy, calling them the villain, saying that how dare you cheer this guy? How dare you cheer the death of a person, a donor class, a high-end, high society individual who has more value than you or me or anyone else. They have higher value. Therefore, if you kill him, you're going to be charged as a terrorist. That's another thing. So the fact that so many people don't see what this incident represents on a larger scale beyond Brian Thompson and his family, which is not why people are cheering. They're cheering something bigger than that. And this is how it looks like when we see the protesters in the street. This is one particular one I just want to focus on because this person is very clear about why they are getting loud right now. And then we're going to have a little follow-up on this because I know, Craig, we've talked about this recently, but what this story means moving forward, regardless of what comes out in court, what does this mean for us, for the people moving forward on a larger level, even if it is a PSYOP? I'm going to play this one real quick. Here we go. This is a protester articulating what is happening right now from the street. Here we go.
Terrorism is these corporations that are keeping us poor and sick and confused and making money off of it. That's the real terrorism. And any American with common sense charge of terrorism on Luigi Mangione is absurd.
Show me the lie.
Okay, can you tell me why you're here with this sign, please?
Yeah, I'm out here with this sign because I think that people have woken up and they realize that there are other options for reality. The 1% like us to believe that this is the way that it is, and we have to stay sick and poor and confused and angry and fighting one another, and they don't want us to realize that it's actually an issue of the 99% versus the 1%. And this charge against Luigi Mangione for an act of terror is absolutely absurd, and I think any American can realize that. And I think that it shows how afraid they are that the people are coming together and realizing that we have the power. The people, the 99% of the people, we are the ones that have the power, not these corporations who are petrified. Kathy Hochul actually started a CEO hotline for CEOs who are scared to call. What about the hotline for the schools, for the children who are victims of the school shooters? The children need a hotline. This is ridiculous, not the CEOs. So I think that the real terrorism, and any American can realize this, the real terrorism is these for-profit corporations who are keeping us sick, poor, confused, and angry, and murdering us through the healthcare system for profit. That is the real terrorism.
I would have liked to have asked her if she was wearing the mask for what reason, because a lot of people don't really understand that. I see a mask get turned off, but it's a way to get to fool the facial recognition. They need that part of your nose and your lips to catch on the facial red so they can log you down, right? So maybe that's why she was doing it, but the mask does kind of bother me. But it could be for those reasons. And I think this is just really quickly, this will kind of piggyback to as well. And this is somebody left on one of the Instagram pages and whatnot. Greg in LA, right? CEOs are not taking down their LinkedIn pages and profiles because of the shooting. Anthem Blue Cross did not reverse its anesthesia policy because of the shooting. The sudden surge of healthcare approvals is not because of the shooting. All of these things are happening because of the public reaction to the shooting. The solidarity being felt with the shooter scares the hell out of them, because we are forcing social accountability on those who have never faced it before. If everyone expressed outrage and concern for the CEO, none of these things would be happening. These changes happen within 2 days, and they are scared of us and the power we have on social media platforms. The shooter is considered an American hero, a patriot, a legend. Free Luigi.
That's, yeah. Wow.
That's what scared him.
Yeah.
More than anything, that's what scared him.
Yeah. No.
Our reaction. That's why they had that long perp walk, Matt.
You know, I have another idea about the perp walk. I have another idea about it. And you know, I've been kind of leaning towards the PSYOP, right? I think I had even said on one of our panels together a week ago, I talked about, I was kind of leaning to like 80% maybe PSYOP, 20% not. I said, I hope it's not. When I saw the perp walks, Craig, I started to think it seemed like they might be squirming. I think you might be right, because by doing that, you set him up to maybe being taken out by a sniper. I got the sense that they wanted that to happen.
No vest on him. No vest.
Yeah. Why would you do that? And it reminds me of Lee Harvey Oswald and the, come on, where's Jack Ruby? Where is he? Oh, there he is.
That's why he wore that sweater with that collared shirt the next day. It was almost like symbolic. I mean, yeah.
It changed my mind about it. But with or without the perp walk, even if I was still at 80% PSYOP, which I'm not ruling out by any means, what this tweet you just showed, which is important, it's undeniable that regardless of what is the theater and the reality of it versus, theater versus reality, regardless of that sentiment alone, that is real. That is happening. The reaction is what's happening. And when you have people on late night comedy, when you have your Colin Jost on SNL feeling like he's interrupted by his audience because he's trying to tell a joke about Luigi, and just by mentioning his name, the audience at SNL goes crazy. They cheer. And the look on Colin Jost's face, because he's detached and he's not really part of the people, he's telling them all these years, we're all good guys, we're all together trying to take on Trump and all that shit. No, he has no idea why the audience is cheering. So that's also something that's coming out of this, that you can see the people who are really understanding what the movement's about. The girl we played on that clip earlier on Freedom News, and then that well-articulated tweet you showed, that's what it's about. And anybody who doesn't understand that, that's the red flag that on them, that they don't either, they dishonestly don't understand it, or they really don't. They really don't get it because they come from a life of privilege and they think people are complaining and whining, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out. And I heard this one. This one's important, Craig. There's a lot of people that see that 32% denial rate from United Health, and they say, well, okay, 32 denial, that sucks. But what were they denied for, huh? And they assume the denials must include people trying to get more than what they paid for. And they get the little letter that says, nah, you didn't pay for this. Don't try to overdo it. Like we're overdoing a rental car. Like you get your insurance coverage. You're like, can I upgrade? You're not really covered. No, that's not what this is. Every single one, and this is coming from a healthcare professional. I can vouch for this at Kaiser. Kaiser's at 8% denial rate, not nearly as bad as United. But I can guarantee you, I can vouch for this from the inside, that all of those, whether it's 8% for Kaiser, 32% for United Health, every single one of those are denials due to the fact, not because the people didn't pay for it, because the company decided it was in their best interest to not do the thing that was paid for. No, we will not allow you to live. We ran the numbers. It's not worth it. Sorry. Have a nice death. Not have a nice life. Have a nice death. We're just not going to do it. Every one of those is people who paid for the service and didn't get it.
Yeah,
that's the real tragedy here, and that's what's being exposed.
And no matter how they try to twist it, the majority of the times it was denied for profit. Like we talked about it in the beginning of the show with me and from my friend Fred Edward, and he had pointed out to me, well, that's the only way they can continue to increase profits is make sure that the wages are low, right? They're not looking at their workers as a resource. They're looking at you as an expense. That's number one. Number two, you deny claim insurances because you have to make sure that your shareholders get their money and people keep on investing. That's the way the system is set up. It's a quagmire within the system, and it's something we need to be brought up about. You know, we had that show you were on with me, Amber King, Steve, and unfortunately we couldn't get our good friend Tiffany on for that long because she had problems. But that show was intriguing, you know, because Steve is not one of those guys who does not want a United Healthcare program. He doesn't want it at all, and I understand. I don't want a healthcare system with this system we have, because we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. I want a complete rehaul, of everything that's going on, reforming of sorts, and get a real healthcare system. We do have to do, I think, the suggestions on what Steve was suggesting on the front end, how you have to eat nowadays. And it is kind of truly amazing. Everything was to see the Republicans become the health nuts, right? Remember, it was Sarah Palin who brought her big 32-ounce Coca-Cola and said, how dare they take away my freedoms? And it's like, yeah, you don't get it. I get what you're saying, but you got to, like, America is unhealthy, and we need to fix that. So, Well, Luigi has Anna. How you doing, sweetheart? So nice to see you or hear from you. I'd like to see you with my own eyes sooner than later. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's well with your family. Luigi has raised awareness completely. I mean, look, I'm stuck at it too as well. I mean, it was one of the things that, when I worked with Jimmy was always like a big time, Medicare for all person, because, he'd been in a situation where, he was denied health care, right, to possibly help his situation. And I think the term he used, these people care about you less than the gum on your shoes. They really do. They don't care. I had my own situation where I sat there in that hospital begging them, please let my mother go to rehab. They wouldn't let her go to this rehab. And had I known the system inside and out, I would have never appealed. I would have shut my mouth and just got her into subacute. I'm very thankful now that people are very, helping me out. The people that she does have that are watching over there and giving her therapy are great. But the most precious time for a stroke victim is as soon as they get stable, to get them into rehab right away, to jolt that memory. We waited for 3 weeks. They didn't care. They played God with my mom's life. And that was a little small taste. I can only imagine and read stories of what people have gone through in this this whole situation, because, you know, just like there's good cops out there, people who want to do good, there's good therapists out there. There's good people working in that industry that want to do good, that can help people out. The therapists that I've met, they want to help my mom. They want to work with my mom more than anything. They want to do it. It's not just because they're clocking into a job. Yeah, of course they need that. And that's why they probably went to college and did that stuff. But there's something that about them inside that really does care. And it's been I've been so blessed to have the therapist at my mom's place that I do have. And that's something that needs to be highlighted in the system that can work for everybody. They have a healthcare system in every developed nation out there. You know, like I said, I'd like to redo it. I think that forcing people to do certain things, like forcing people to get a certain shot to keep your health care. Punks like Hassan Piker. Yeah, I remember you, Hassan, when you ridiculed me for that. We have COVID deniers inside the healthcare movement that need to be thrown out. Fuck you, you asshole. And anybody like you who went along with all that bullshit.
Yeah.
You took the side of Big Pharma. That's what you did.
Yeah, it's funny. People say now it's easy to say I was never against I was never for mandates. I was against them. You will always, if you guys have people telling you that in your life now, like, just so you know, I wasn't for the mandates. Ask them a follow-up. What do you mean by that? So you're saying you weren't for people losing their jobs? Were you for carding vax cards at restaurants? And those are bonuses in society. Those are privileges. Yeah, I was for that. Really? Because that sounds like punishment to me, which means you were for the mandates. So any sort of punishment, any sort of you don't get to have this for this is a bullying technique. It's a punishment. It's meant to make you feel like shit and meant to make you change your mind about your initial instinct, which is I don't want to put this experimental shit in my body. But you're going to bully me enough and pressure me enough, I'm going to cave. So you're saying you weren't for any of that? Because I don't know. I think I would push back on people who tell you after the fact, oh, I was never for that.
It's more than just a shot with COVID. And look, I don't want to bag on my friends that didn't talk about it when it was happening.
Yeah.
That even some of them who took it, right? Okay, they went along with it, right? I don't want to bag on those people, but it's more than just a shot. It's about the rearranging of society. It's about stomping and trampling all over our civil liberties. It's all about an overreaching government that says you have to do this or you don't get that. There's more to it than just mandates.
Yeah.
And when people still say that stuff and refuse to talk about it, and I get it, they're protecting their YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's more than just that. This is more. The COVID was more than just a shot. It was more than just a virus. It's about rearranging society in the eyes of those who want to track and trace us all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 8. I know we got the music.
Let me read as you put it up. I'll read it because you're stumbling. Your thing's getting cut out in the beginning, so we're not hearing you.
All right,
so put it on up and music, maestro. Here we go. Number 8, J6 200 plus Fed infiltration operation exposed plus 2020 election verified to be rigged.
I don't think you're able to say that, Craig. That's not appropriate. Can't say that. But no, both of these have been verified 100%. We know about the Fed infiltration. There's different reports on how many Feds were infiltrating, but 200 seems to be the going number. Even there was a lot of them saying 26, but 26 or 200 or whatever, you understand that this was an operation.
There were Feds there, and there weren't Feds there to catch people. They were there Feds to encourage people to do stuff, not to catch, but to encourage. And that's the biggest thing. They wanted this thing to be a lot worse than it really is. And this is something like I got to tell you, like when in fact the people who were marching down from the ellipse where Donald Trump spoke to the Capitol, and everybody had already penetrated the Capitol. So the people who heard Donald Trump speak weren't even the ones who got into the Capitol, right? Those were different people who were at the Capitol waiting. He spoke at the ellipse 45 minutes away. It's like they were proud. They wanted to show that as Trumpers that they can march peacefully and not be like what they would say, Black Lives Matter, burning down the town, which I think is also over-exaggerated. Yeah, there were some instances. But once again, you had the whole Antifa movement. It's not people who were just anti-fascist. It's Feds wearing masks and wearing blacks. There were just bricks everywhere, guys. I mean, they're doing this. They're playing both sides, and they're putting you in this quagmire of making sure that you blame. It goes in circles like a fucking hamster wheel. You blame the left blames the right. They're the racist. You're the racist. You're the one who caused problems. You're the one who's been. I mean, it's just nuts. There were bricks laid out in the streets, ladies and gentlemen. They were encouraging people to do this. I went to a Black Lives Matter march, the one where we went on the highway. We were just following it. They went onto the highway, shut down the traffic on the highway. There was a homeless guy who joined the march. He's the one who threw his skateboard through the back of the cop car. Well, sure enough, they blamed everybody on Black Lives Matter when clearly, and I didn't like the whole process of walking on the highway, even though they did that, right? Things can get out of hand. But clearly the people who were the what do you call it? I don't want to say the promoters, but the organizers of that particular march. And Melina Abdullah was there, who turned out to be Cornell West vice president. They were saying, don't cause any problems, don't cause any violence, don't do any. They were being very clear in that message. The only problem is when you have a protest and people are wearing masks and hoodies and whatnot, some feds get in there. Like I saw somebody at another march try to start a fight, and he was like, oh, this guy's an instigator. That's what they do. They did it at January 6th. They did it at the Black Lives Matter rallies, and that's something that's not talked about. All these things that were burnt down and everything, that wasn't at the order of the Black Lives Matter organizers. No, I wasn't in Wisconsin, but I can tell you the marches I went to in LA, the marches I went to in Portland, the marches that I've seen in New York or were in Florida and stuff, they were always stating, don't cause any violence, or don't any robberies or nothing. It's just people who would join these protests. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, let's see some of the breakdown from, I guess this is Newsmax. I mean, what better than them to say, we found out that it was feds the whole time. I mean, we knew it was the whole time, but they're announcing it. So
we said it from the get-go.
We said it from the beginning.
Yeah, here's the thing. Me and Steve on the morning show on AM Wake Up, Steve would use the term, it said, it felt very feddy. I'm like, yeah, when we were talking about it, it was like, it feels like there's feds here trying to instigate shit, man. Like you can see, and then you saw patriots trying to stop people.
Yeah. So let's hear the coverage from Newsmax. Here we go.
Protesters onto the steps of Capitol Hill. Have you seen this? No one has explained what this was all about. And this happened all over Capitol Hill that day. You'll see in another portion here, these barricades being removed by police officers so these people can get inside the Capitol building. And then there were others, Capitol Hill police officers, just standing by. Just welcome to the Capitol. What was all of this about? What was all of this about? Also, and you've seen this by now, the Horns guy and others like him just allowed into the Senate.
The police here are willing to work with us and cooperate peacefully, like our First Amendment allows. Gather more Americans under the condition that they will come and gather peacefully to discuss what needs to be done to save our country.
You have a memory of anything near like this?
We just saw protesters walking through Statuary Hall, Claire. I just don't want to interrupt, but we just saw people going right through. There they are.
They were peaceful. They were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol.
I have given warnings about chemical munitions. I need the less than lethal team positioned above me to start deploying. Launch!
You're on the wrong side of history! We need more fucking munitions! Let's go! Fucking shoot it! Go! Shoot!
So this has been obviously, like Craig said, we've seen this from the beginning. You guys could tell just from day one that something was off. But as this story pieces itself together more and more, and I guess because we're separated enough, it's okay now to report on this. It's okay to talk about the feds. It's okay to talk about the guys that clearly were put on the one guy that was put on the FBI list and he was taken off, and he was clearly telling people, we're going to go to the Capitol, we're going to storm the Capitol. And we saw the language being used on every channel. Storm the Capitol, storm the Capitol. That was infiltration, guys. That was feds infiltrating, using the language to get the people there to copy that language. And then you would turn on the TV, you'd see on CNN, whatever, you'd see they're storming the Capitol. So is it to make it seem like it was orchestrated when the orchestration was orchestrated by the feds? So we know that now. And we're seeing all the cooperation on the ground in the actual area. And when people like Tucker were reporting on this early, they were mocking him. They were mocking him on these Hollywood events. You had like Jimmy Kimmel. I remember Jimmy Kimmel giving the Academy Awards and about to introduce the next editor, best editing category, best editor, and then he mocks Tucker Carlson for editing January 6th footage, and you're like, that makes no sense. Tucker was showing footage that was kept from us. How is that editing? How are you even referencing that while you're giving out an editing award? And the irony, Craig, and I'm remembering that part because when you're giving out an editing award in Hollywood, this is a category of how you can manipulate the screen for your viewer to emote a certain way. That's what we do in Hollywood. That's the nature of storytelling in Hollywood. So January 6th turned out to be one big story that was produced. And the J6 committee and the hearings were theater. The whole thing was theater. They hired Hollywood producers to produce that stuff. And so the irony, the twisted, it's completely twisted that Jimmy Kimmel would mock Tucker Carlson for showing raw footage that we were deprived of right before he announces best editor on a film. It's bizarre to me. It's baffling. It's insane.
We saw a lot of the same type of like stage stuff in Ukraine, right? With the trains and stuff.
Yeah.
They had a whole, guys, this has been going on for quite some time. The only thing I think that the populist right and Steve Bannon's and all those other donkeys need to realize is that it happened at those same Black Lives Matter rallies that they talk about. These guys try to burn down the whole street. Look, there were a lot of people inside that movement that were very upset, let loose, and they need to be dealt with, right? Violence is violence.
Yeah.
And you can't excuse it either way. But I'm just saying there were bricks put up in the streets for reasons, guys. We saw this all the time. They were definitely trying to encourage this. Once again, they want you to fight this racial cultural war so they don't have to answer for the class war. And that's what they want. So the divide and conquer worked on both sides.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then to tie this up with the 2020 election, I'm not going to go down a whole rabbit hole on that right now, but we knew that when we started seeing the results come in for the 2024 election, the numbers started to you look at just looking on the surface, you can see, and this was in real time. Somebody had posted this, and we covered this on our election show. When you saw the massive difference between 2020 and 2024, and of course that number went up from here on 2024. But look at that, like you're looking at 04, 08, 2012, 2016, 2020, and you're starting to realize what type of operation was done to us in 2020. I mean, even without all the, again, we're not without going down the rabbit hole. I mean, the fact that this should concern you, that during a year of COVID, a year where they shut down voting booths, they shut people into their homes. They said vote by mail. They didn't even so people weren't even voting in 2020 yet. How did Joe Biden get the most votes in history? He destroyed Obama in 08, the biggest, the Yes We Can era. He destroyed it. And he was VP at the time, but like, none of this makes any sense. And then when we see the 2024 results, which obviously came in way more than 129, but the idea is that, yes, we have to go back and look at 2020 and say, in retrospect, in hindsight, how did most people go along with this? I mean, even I was guilty of it. I always said
25 million more votes, you guys. 25 more million votes, close to 26 million. That's just unprecedented. I mean, you cannot ignore those numbers. And I've been saying this for the get-go. And listen, throughout this whole year, we've been having conversations, in my travels, working with Jimmy, working with Steve, working with Fiorella, working with all these people, a mixed bag of nuts across the board. And sometimes you can understand why a lot of libertarians or anarchists want to just completely move away from the system because the system itself is rotten. But I don't believe that we can do that. I believe that we are one species on one planet. We're going to have to find a way. I believe central planning can work. You can't build railroads with libertarian Austrian economics mentality. You just can't, right? Yeah. And the MMT people, where you can just keep printing it out of thin air and it's not pegged to anything, not going to work. You're going to devalue your currency across the board. That's just the way it goes. The more of there is of something, the less it's worth. Scarcity does mean something. So without all that being said, I just believe that for us to do anything that, once I want to limit the reach of government and how big it is. I don't think they should be involved with everyday lives. And they definitely shouldn't be involved in the family structure, right? But I believe there should be a role and that government plays. And the only way it works is if elections are fair. We need to have the ability to hire and fire people at will. You know what I'm saying? Despite the greatest enemy, which is the propaganda mainstream media. But if we have a mechanism in which it's fair and we can hire and fire people at will, so be it. The thing that's also driving me crazy too, as well, when you look at those numbers, that 25 million votes also went to a bunch of Republicans on the down ticket as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. They're establishment Democrats, establishment Democrats and establishment Republicans that benefit from the system we have. And it's a bad system. There's zero transparency. Yeah, I don't have the ability to tell you where it's fake because we don't have the audit capabilities. It's not allowed. It's black box all the way. It's owned by a zombie company, right? Private equity company that's counting our votes. But you can also prove that it's real, like we can in other Latin American countries, because it's done right in front of our face. I mean, proprietary software counting votes in a lot of these states, that's mind-boggling. And it really is a shame where they got people nowadays. There are people I respect. Margaret Kimberly and I, we had a little bit back and forth on this. They've sold that the ballot harvesting, where a bunch of people can take ballots and hand them themselves, where they have massive drop boxes and mass mail out ballots to, who they issue ballots to, that's about protecting and raising the voice of minorities, black people, so they have the opportunity, so their voice can be heard. They have this whole thing twisted. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame they really do have that. We have to eliminate this. If they can do it in Nicaragua and get 70% of the people voting, then we can do it here in the United States. If we have the will to do it, we can do it. But we are the most propagandized people on the planet, and the whole system is meant so that the ruling class stays in control. The top of the ticket is only the top of the ticket. The power of the purse is run by Congress. Well, that's in the power of the Republicans right now. And they're not rhinos. They're Republicans. Republican in name only. No. You supported them. You stood behind them. You can't just walk away and wipe your hands. You can say they're a bad Republican, but they are Republicans. And we need to face this across the board. And we have to take this on and come up with some real solutions. And the solutions start with realizing that there's a problem, and there's a serious problem in our elections.
100%. All right, we're moving on. You want to announce number 7?
Yeah, get the music going. Who's doing the music? Jayme, you doing the music?
Okay.
All right. Put it up a little bit. That's too low. Number 7, Biden incites a banana republic in order to help convict Trump of 34 felonies.
Ooh, that's
you think this was underplayed, man? Holy cow. You didn't watch enough mainstream media. My God. Wow. It was manipulated. It was tossed and turned. I mean, in one side, it's lawfare. The other side, oh my God, he's a convicted felon. I don't know. There was a lot of conversation about that. It was such a distraction to what was going on outside the borders of the United States. Nobody was paying attention to what was going on. And once again, it's the Streisand effect. The ruling class and the social engineers, they understand how it works, how you demonize a person and make him look like the victim, and then he gets support. That's what they did over here. I mean, the lawfare in which they thrusted on people is the reason why so many people went along with Trump. When I was with Kim and we were in freaking West Palm Beach at the Viet MAGA event, and we walked in, we heard that Donald Trump was, there was an attempted assassination. She even said, "Oh my God, they're trying to kill him." Like, who's they? What do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he says, "They tried to kill me again," and the Ukrainian guy and stuff. Who's they? They're trying to make it look like he's an outsider by this big force. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. If you really wanted him dead, you're not sending those two fucking numbnuts to go kill him. No way.
Well, we'll get to that. But this is the reason why the Banana Republic, I'll throw us back up. The Banana Republic part is so important because this is the language that Biden and the Democrats have used about if Trump gets back in, he's going to do the banana play. He's the one that's going to use the judicial system against his adversary. But this is exactly what Biden did, and there was no way to justify that except it's how you spin it. It's the language you use. You obviously use different language to make it look like it's legit, it's real, we're on the side of the good guys. And this is how CNN reported the felonies. And you can just see Jake Tapper's face. It's all he's just so good at that. It's a Rachel Maddow face. It's that concerned. I can't believe our president did this. Here we go.
Guilty. Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. All 34 are felonies. Donald Trump has now been convicted of 34 different felony crimes by a jury of his peers in Manhattan. 34 felony charges for former President Donald J. Trump.
Now listen how he has to say 34 different, and he just keeps repeating it over and over, like in shock. But we've looked at this, Craig, and you guys watching this, you know that we went into this. We did a deep dive into this, and we saw that all 34, none of them are actual felonies. They're all it's actually one charge. It should have been a misdemeanor, and it's for the books being off. The point is that I think they had come up with a 34-month timeline. So the one thing, or you can call it a mistake, intentional, on accident, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't even the level of a felony. And they wanted to say, oh, well, you were off on the books 34 times because 34 months had passed. So we're going to call it 34, strikes on you. And then we're going to capture the judicial system, put judges in there, have them up it to a felony, and then times it by 34. So that's what they're doing there. Meanwhile, they got the case in New York where they're trying to get him on the real estate deal, which is it's hilarious because the bank was totally fine with the way the way the system is set up is to do back and forth and negotiate and underbid. And so they did this whole thing. Well, Trump uniquely did that. Nobody else does that. Then you had the case with E. Jean Carroll, which we broke that one down. And we said, this is all bullshit. This woman wanted to go on a shopping spree with Rachel Maddow after she got her money. And the point is he was never convicted of rape, but people started saying he's a rapist. So he's a felon. He's a rapist. All this was done, and this is important that you guys understand this, that Biden being the president and having the influence that he did made this what we were living through, what we lived through, guys, this year. We lived through a banana republic. That's exactly what happened here. So whether he got a fair trial, well, even if he had gotten a fair trial, you could say, well, maybe he did this or that. You could have maybe slapped him with the misdemeanor. You could have found something, but you didn't even let the judicial system work the way it was supposed to. Therefore, by definition, with that capture off the bat, off day one, the whole thing was nefarious from the beginning. So the verdict doesn't even matter. The point is, Banana Republic, this is the thing that we go into other countries and stop them from doing. We say it's non-democratic. You can't do that. You can't pit the people against each other, capturing a judicial system, going against your adversary, your political adversary, in order to gain power or keep power. But that's what we live for, and that's why we have to expose this.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, Streisand effect, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to change. They got a narrative. They're trying to change it, and it actually gives him public support instead. They knew that. They can't. You know what? They can't be that stupid.
Yeah,
it's got to be corrupt.
So that's the point where there are people that are stupid on this, and I don't. Maybe stupid's the wrong word, but they're confused because they fully believe that these are real charges. They fully believe Jake Tapper's face when he's like,
those are the people looking for confirmation bias, though, Matt. Right?
But then, yes, they're looking for confirmation bias. But then when Trump's support increases after this airing of Jake Tapper on CNN, they're so confused. They say, well, how you think he would have lost a little bit of support? Like, how could it go the other direction? They can't answer it. If this was an SAT question, they would fail. They do not know why. And that's the biggest disconnect of all. The answer, obviously, you and I and our viewers know, the answer is you get more support because more people who maybe wouldn't have voted for him because they don't like his policies, they never considered themselves part of the MAGA movement, by watching in real time what they did to him, revealed the problem with our judicial system. And just out of support, out of protest, they said, I'm with him because that should not be okay. So if they would do that to Bernie, they would do that to someone else. They will do that again. So it became bigger than Trump. And that's the part that the people they're so confused. They don't know why would his voter support increase? Well, that's why, because you don't do that. And out of principle, you get on board with the guy that says we don't want this ever happening again. Trump or no
25 million less votes, man.
Yeah.
They knew. Listen, they knew.
They knew.
They weren't going to cheat this time. It's almost like they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, you see people like Cenk Uygur now coming around to like, I don't hate Donald Trump people anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Like, and you see, what's his name? The Zuckerberg. Oh, that was badass by Trump. Like, you just see these people just getting in line. Even the rhetoric where people like, Bakari Sellers and all these other people on CNN, it's a lot less, oh my God, disgusted. You know what I'm saying? It's, well, this is what people want, and this is, maybe we have to support them on this and that, one of those kind of mentalities. To me, I feel like they're playing poker, and they're playing it very bad.
Yeah.
At least that's what I see. Streisand effect.
Yeah, Streisand effect.
Streisand effect.
All right.
The social engineers know that. Music, maestro. Get it, Jayme. Blast that bitch.
Here we go.
Jayme, go ahead.
It's looping around from the beginning. Here we go.
Yeah, number 7. Number 6. Did we do number 7?
Yes.
Cat Williams was right about everything.
Cat Williams was right about everything. What are we talking about? What was he right about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know, but why don't we remind the viewers what Cat Williams was right about? Because this interview happened at the beginning of 2024 when he sat down with Skip to discuss.
That's Skip.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Skip? What the hell is wrong with me? Back it up.
Shannon Sharp used to do a show.
Shannon Sharp.
You're wrong, Skip. You're wrong, Skip.
Okay, back it up. Retake. Cat Williams sat down with Shannon Sharp at the beginning of 2024 to tell us his predictions of what was going to come out this year. And a lot of people thought it was a little over the top. Looking back, looks like he might have been right about everything. Can you lower the music, Jayme, and we'll play this. Here we go.
He's going to get better with the music.
I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
And after that, I don't really kind of know where to go. Let me one more time.
Let me say something right there. What he's saying to himself too, as well, is like, "Oh my God, this ain't football business no more." Like the look on his face, he was like, "Did that just happen on my show?
Yeah,
on the Shay Shay Lounge? Yeah, Shannon Sharp, it did. And I was glad it was Shannon Sharp because he's one of my favorite, football personalities. I've always liked him for quite some time because he can always sit there and defend, speak to the, the press. When Ray Lewis was acquitted of all charges, Ray didn't speak to the press for the Baltimore Ravens. Shannon Sharp did. You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily, know the crux of that case. And remember, it's a hard thing, right? He witnessed something, but you don't snitch. Never be a snitch, they say, whatever. I mean, but, Shannon Sharp was not shy to say that Ray Lewis was acquitted on all charges, when he supposedly witnessed the murder.
Yeah. So shortly after that, several months later, because this was early 2024. But his prediction, he mentions Diddy, and look what happened, guys. We're almost right on schedule.
On scene here that we're getting this information from. We were actually the first ones here with about 30 different law enforcement vehicles at least. There are 3 Bearcats on scene here. This just all unfolded, Sandra, I would say less than 10 minutes ago. We got here even before the crime scene tape came up. So we're just down the hill. If you look up this street where Tony is right now to the right, you'll see one of those Bearcats, and law enforcement. And on the other side of those bushes, basically, is that home that is registered to Bad Boy Films, which is part of Bad Boy Entertainment. And the home in particular is registered not only to Bad Boy Films, but to one of P. Diddy's daughters.
They are heavily armed, and they've been very tactful, would probably be the best word to use, as they made entry into this home this afternoon. We actually watched them as they made their way through one of these side gates, and as soon as they got inside the home, one of the first things they did was made their way into this garage that you see is open right there. Now, they did take a couple people into custody. We witnessed that. Now, are they under arrest? Are they just being asked about what they know? That I can't answer, but I can tell you there's 3 people right there that were taken into custody, were inside that home at the time of the raid.
We did. So, and we know as this unfolded that yes, P. Diddy was, or Diddy as he goes by now, was arrested. And as the information came out more and more, we got the word on the thousands of baby lotion bottles, which then was GHB liquefied, which we know is a drug that if you put on skin, you can have a very lasting effect of not being present, of getting drowsy, not being yourself. So the fact that you have this baby oil that he's rubbing on people, we know the whole routine at these white parties. This is what is being exposed. So this is what Cat Williams is talking about. And to be clear, Cat Williams isn't saying this one guy is disturbed. This one guy has a problem. This one guy is
the whole side.
Yeah. He's talking about an entire industry that is coming undone. And P. Diddy he happened to mention, but there's others. And now we're seeing Jay-Z and Beyonce, and we're seeing a lot of other people being pinpointed now that goes well beyond the narrative that they would rather tell the story that it was one person, right? It was, oh, there we go. There is the bottles of baby lotion. And we know it wasn't the original baby lotion in the bottles when they found it, right? He had mixed up this very weird thing, this drug that if you liquefy it, you can get on people's skins and have really just have control of them. It's a weapon of control. That's what that is. Just like when you spike someone's drink, or you use them into a place where they can't defend themselves. They don't have the full conscious of their own body and their own decisions. And then that's predator behavior, obviously. And that's abuse of power. So this thing is a mile long. You guys know we covered this stuff, but I think the point is, and what Kat was saying at the beginning of the year, which has come 100% true. So let's throw this up again. Cat Williams was right about everything. And if you look deeper to what he's talking about, it's an entire industry that is captured, an entire industry that is corrupt. We talk about child sex trafficking. We talk about industry elites, not just in the music industry. We're talking about entertainment, which includes Hollywood, filmmaking, the TV industry. We're also talking about sports. We're talking about athletes that are captured as well. So how long can they keep this narrative going that there's just one guy has to take a fall, Craig? Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was uniquely.
They always try to do that. Right,
Yeah.
They try to make Epstein look like a bad apple on the Netflix
Yeah.
series. They're going to do the same thing over there. I mean, what's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of trafficking children to nobody. Right, nobody on that on the clients really ever paid a price. And when I see these people going in, I'm wondering if this is the elites going, "What does he have that can hurt us?" Or are they saying enough is enough? We got to curtail this guy. He's gotten too out of control. There's so many questions that need to be answered right now. I mean, will he be Epsteined?
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Did Epstein even Epstein himself?
Anymore. He couldn't take it. He wanted to be with Biggie, man. He wanted to be with Biggie. He couldn't take it anymore.
Let's get to number 5. Let's get to some music.
All lies will be exposed.
Wow.
All right, moving on. Here we go.
Music, Jayme. Number 5. Biden pardons Hunter for 11 years to cover for crimes in Ukraine. A NATO operation to build biolabs, release COVID, and weaken Russia. This is so true right here. This is like everybody's talking about, what they, the fact that he didn't commit harmful crimes, vicious crimes, violent crimes. really, to tell you the truth, the Hunter being pardoned is not about protecting Hunter. It's about protecting Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And what he did, and the way he carpetbagged inside Ukraine with Nancy Pelosi's son, Paul Pelosi, with John Kerry's godson, right? There were so many people who got contracts, people who made money in the FTX scandal for that whole situation. Money went back to Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, these people got away with treating Ukraine like a toilet bowl, pissing and shitting in it wherever it's at. There's over 500,000 Ukrainians dead at this point. It's completely decimated. You know what I'm saying? This is something that didn't need to happen. The United States used them as a pawn, as a proxy, and a lot of this pardon is to cover up a lot of the stuff that led to that. I mean, literally, these crimes were a byproduct of war, of overturning a government. You know, I mean, this is sick here, and the fact that they're concentrating too much on Hunter and not concentrating on what the Biden crime family did themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And when they tried to report on this, like, you can't hide the part about the 11 years. That's the main. I think that's the main thing, because we can talk all day about, oh, you know, you guys saw this whole like back and forth with the press secretary. Oh, yeah, he'll never do it. Biden he's a good guy. He's not like Trump. He does the right thing. And then you knew over Thanksgiving weekend, he was like, oh, Biden had second thoughts. It was a father doing it for his son. And that's what you do when you're at the end of your life. You do something nice for you. So all this bullshit there, the thing you can't, as much as you want to twist that part, Craig, as much as you want to find a reason that Biden is doing the right thing by pardoning, you can't get over the 11-year part. That's the clincher. You're saying, I mean, nothing is 11 years. There's no 11-year term on anything. There's no 11-year rental agreement. There's no 11-year warranty. There's no 11 is not a number. And so like to say we got to cover this from from 2014 and on, that's your giveaway. Let's hear the CNN try and cover this when it first happened.
This sort of came to a head this weekend, and this is why President Biden decided now to do this. But as Isaac was just saying, that really is a sense of the conversation that has been going on really inside the family. And I'm told this has been very much a family discussion and something that has been not widely shared or discussed as a policy matter inside the West Wing.
So what he's doing there is he's trying to create this storyline of family first, as I discussed. The family goes before policy. All this was behind closed doors, not because it's secret, not because it's nefarious. It's because it's family, and family, we protect family. So he's trying to paint that picture. But we know the 11 years is the 11 years. It's right here. This is it. It's starting from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. That's it. There's your 11 years. There's no way around that. So how do we maneuver this into the next term? I mean, this is very crafty. It's very shady. And I think you hit it on the head, Craig, up at the top. You said this isn't about Hunter Biden being protected. This is about Joe Biden protecting himself. How can we see this any other way at this point? I mean, with this timestamp on here like this, as Biden's in the last few weeks of his term here.
Yeah. One little caveat I want to add to this whole situation. We understand this is to cover up the crimes. And Joe Biden was out in the open about it. Council of Foreign Relations. I said, you're not getting a loan unless you fire this guy. That guy was doing the investigation, right? So they're covering their tracks all the way. And 2014 was the year that they infiltrated that government, overturned them. I mean, we understand what they are doing. But another little cherry on top of the fact is that Joe Biden was the author of the crime bill, right? The crime bill, which really destroyed families and people who were trying to just get a leg up in prison. In other words, there were a lot of programs in which a person in prison could obtain a high school diploma or a plumbing degree or plumbing certification or whatever, so that when they got out, they would have a chance to hit the ground running. Well, the crime bill, once again, and you can't like the Donald Trump, tough on crime. They're not being tough on crime right now. That's what's going on with the Democrats. We got to be tougher on crime. That had that same mentality, and that crushed people. Yet his son was guilty of the same things a lot of people who had to pay from the laws, the rules written about the crime bill. They had to pay for it. Hunter got away with completely.
Yeah.
Hunter got away with it completely. And his dad was the author of that bill. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's because we're talking about a society that is created where there is privilege, just like the Brian Thompson family has more privilege than other families that have to deal with the loss of their loved ones through taking healthcare coverage away. That we protect certain families more. Joe Biden, it pulls at the heartstrings. A white kid with privilege and him having a crack cocaine addiction. Oh, you can feel the father's pain trying to cope with his son's addiction. But all those poor brown and black people, no, F them, lock them up for a quarter size of crack. Remember, a quarter size. That's it. That's all you need. You're done. F you. Take everything you have, ruin the rest of your life. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your father and son relationships. F you. You're not of value as we are. And that's the nature of the society we're in. The crime bill fits that perfectly. It's not unique. It's not this thing that everyone like, whoa, what is this? It fits exactly the echelon of our society that we're all born into. And until the people rise up and say enough of this man-made BS system that we are born into, we can do better than this. We can do better than protecting the few while the people of masses suffer. We're done. So yeah, well, I think we're on the same page for sure.
We
that was
are.
number 5. That was the number 5.
Let's go number 4.
Let's go. Okay, I want to announce that. Well, this one involves us both on a personal level. Coming in at number 4, it is the genocide in Gaza that has raged on throughout the calendar year. Protesters are not.
You didn't come out again. You were muffled. You didn't sound right. But genocide in Gaza rages on. Protesters are not anti-Semitic. Matt Weinglass, your thoughts on that?
100%. We know from being on the ground, as Craig Pasta says all the time, we don't just report the stories. We go to the stories, and we go to Chicago for the DNC as the mainstream does not report what's happening on the ground outside the DNC. The DNC is responsible. This administration is responsible for funding this genocide in Gaza. This entire calendar year, 2024, was all genocide. There hasn't been a break. There was a ceasefire momentarily, but that was just for theater. That wasn't real. Israel has been bombarding not just Gaza. Obviously, we know Lebanon, we know Yemen, we know Syria. We're going to get some of that later when we get to the later in the countdown. We got 3 more after this. But the reason this is important is that the anti-Semitism laws that are trying to pass right now are based on this adage that the people in the street are the problem. That is not true. Craig Pasta, myself, Leslie, so many others in our vicinity, we've been there. We went to UCLA. We saw what was really happening. We were at Chicago. We saw what was really happening. The police are the ones that are working hand in hand with the Zionists, and they are attacking the people setting up their tent. They're attacking the protesters, the peaceful protesters, and creating the conflict, while the peaceful protesters are de-escalating and trying to keep their ground and standing for peace and justice as CNN comes in and maliciously reports the opposite. We saw that at UCLA. We saw that in Chicago for the DNC, and we saw how both the right and left-wing medias reported inaccurately what was actually happening on the ground, because the right wants to present that the left are barbaric lefties that have no care for Israel. That's their logic. They want to present that they're all anti-Semitic. So if that's the case, right-wing populist media, why would you then not show us the protests outside the DNC by the Democratic voters who they can't, that ruins their narrative. Meanwhile, the Democrats of course they will not show those protests. They skip right over it. They try to show this unity inside the United Center, which was all BS. We know that we had people inside. We knew Max Blumenthal was in there with all those Stepford Wivey people, which were all brainwashed and cult behavior. And you couldn't talk about Gaza. You couldn't talk about the genocide. Again, if anything was said about it, we were the ones who were anti-Semitic. We were the ones who were violent. And that was the narrative they went through. And there's still people in this country that mean well. They don't know any better. They haven't spent time on this. They believe that till today. They still believe it's the people in the street that were the problem. And they're going to be 100% for these new laws that go through that they're trying to push through right now, anti-Semitic bills that protects Israel, makes Israel first. Both parties are guilty of it. They both want it. Whereas what do we have left to work with, Craig? We have to keep going out there with the protests and getting it on camera, because we know all those media companies are going to be dishonest in how they report it. So we have to keep doing it. But this is what we experienced this year, and that's why this is at number 4 for top censored news of the year.
I think that there has been a victory that the conservative movement, the populist movement, has been able to make the majority of people realize that January 6th was a situation, it was an operation that kind of fell short, right? Like, no matter how many times the loyal Democrats repeat that stuff, there was a hip hop song that came out, like nobody gave a shit about January 6th. Like, no, this is not an insurrection. They ain't trying to take over the Capitol and stuff. But I think that the right has, this whole mentality that they pushed, that the left burnt down the streets, like burnt. I'm like, and they would say it in LA. I'm like, where? What happened? Let me see. It was like there was minimal damage. And like I said, once again, it was probably feds. But I think they won that. Hearing Senator Ted Cruz the other day talk about, as soon as I get back in office and Donald Trump comes back, we're going to stop down these anti-Semitic protests on these college campuses right away. Like that stuff's not being talked about. And every single day, like you said, there is bombing and killing going on. Israel kills somebody every day. And I was watching Gerald Celente, and he got really fired up about it. The prostitutes, he calls them. They're not, they're prostitutes and the press together. Prostitutes. They're not reporting on this. They're not even talking about it. It's like nothing, right? Nothing whatsoever. But they become, infatuated with a woman getting burnt on the subway because she was burnt down by a migrant. But yet Israel killing people, like people were saying, Fiorello also made a tweet about this, like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. A woman on the subway, like that's going on every day, every hour in Gaza. And you guys are suppressing it. You're not talking about it. It's like a normal thing. And it's a shame that Americans are there. And that's why they wanted to shut down TikTok, because TikTok exposed what was going on. And there's all these people. It's so crazy because we have this whole story right now where I think it was Jake Sullivan, or was it John Kirby, was saying some stuff that North Korea is making, like they're having mass attacks, right? Remember we heard the mothership of Iran, right? Nobody has this on footage. Nobody has it on footage the other day, but they make these stories up and they talk about them and they get just fixated on them. And meanwhile, there's a genocide going on a daily basis in Gaza, has not stopped, and nobody's even talking about it. But the problem is the protesters, they're anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
I wish we seen a lot more people on the right push back on this, because we need them to here.
Yeah. And I wish we could have put this one at number 1. I really wanted to, but you guys, there's 3 more stories that are just as important that we get to. So are you ready for the top
number 3? Let's get the music. Here we go.
Here we go.
The number 3 most depressed censored story of the year: Trump assassination attempt. Suspect linked to BlackRock, CIA, Mossad, and MK Ultra. I didn't even hear about this. You got to tell me about this.
Oh, I got to tell you about this, Craig, because as you moved quickly, and rightfully so, you moved quickly into when you saw the Adelson money hit the Trump campaign. And I want to get the timeline right for this, because this is important, because you were right on the money on this. The second that Trump got the $100 million contribution from the Adelson Zionist family, everything switched. It was in the same week. It was the middle week of July. The assassination attempt happened on July 13th. Kamala was in office. The switch out of Biden happened within a week later, by July 22nd. So all the stuff that had to occur within that time to switch everything around and get what you've been saying from that point, Craig. You said Trump is the deep state selection, and they've been selecting him ever since. What I want to back up to, why this is the number 3 story today and for this year, is that up before that point, when Biden was still on the head of the ticket, Trump held this rally. And what we saw is absolutely insane. I know Jayme put this on the share. I'm going to do that. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to take this up. Can we throw the music down? Because I don't want to lose my voice here. Okay, so we're looking at this assassination attempt. The shooters that were set up, and I covered this with Don DeBar at the time. We actually did this within an hour of the event it happened. So we looked at this in real time. And the person they put on the screen, this kid, the narrative was that he got this ladder, all this equipment. He drove over to the thing. He walked right by everyone. He climbed up on a roof with all this equipment. He had all these different all this gear on him. None of it made any sense. But what we know for a fact is that the assassin himself, when he got up on the roof in this location, you had hey Jayme, I can't control it from my side. I don't know. Can you do, because it's yours? Okay. So this is where the sniper on the right, you see that the sniper was set on the kid, ready to fire at him as soon as he took the shots. They weren't counting on this kid to hit Trump. They just needed him to fire the weapon. There was another sniper hooked on Trump. That's the one that got him on the ear. So we've gone through all the math of this, and we saw there were at least the two snipers, one set on the kid, one set on Trump. This kid was taking way too long to do what he was doing. They had to be very patient. So Trump was in the middle of the speech. They all knew he was getting set up. They all knew he was taking aim. They just had to wait for him to fire however many shots. I think it ended up being 8 shots. The 9th one was the one that killed the kid. That was he had the sniper on him the whole time. The other shot went for Trump's ear, and the story goes like this: that Trump turned his head at the last second, which happened to collide with it correlated with that he needed to read this thing off a prompter. He generally doesn't do that. He happened to read a thing off a prompter. It hit his ear, and they missed. So we are fully believing. Now, you might disagree with this, Craig, but we fully believe that that was a legitimate assassination attempt. We later found that this kid, this random kid that they tried to pin this on, we call it MK Ultra. This is where an unsuspecting person who didn't sign up for this willingly got targeted to be the vessel for them to do this operation. The kid himself is linked to BlackRock for a fact. We know this. He appears in a BlackRock commercial. It's insane. We saw that. Some people on Twitter did a deep dive on that and found it within a week. We had the actual commercial that he appears in. Mm-hmm. Coincidence? Maybe. But the point is, this is the big takeaway of the whole thing. Craig, I want to be clear on this. Mm-hmm. The big takeaway on everything of whether you think the deep state signed on before the Adelson money or after, whatever you think there, and we can debate that, friendly debate that all we want. But the fact of the matter is, somebody did an incredible job of trying to get this to happen, not pulling it off, and then erasing it from our memory. You never hear it talked about. This is, and I don't mean literally erase from our memory. People, you can mention this and people can have discussions, but the point is, how many presidents have had an assassination attempt cut by their ear and then not have it come up again as a talking point in the middle of a presidential election? Never comes up again. The few times Trump brings it up, he says, Iran tried to kill me. And this goes to your point, Craig. Iran is that's the next war they're trying to set up. And this is what he's told to say now. When he knows it, we know it. Everyone knows it. It wasn't Iran. It was Israel. It was Mossad. It was BlackRock. Any combination of those. We know that something is there that's not, that the media doesn't have to account for, because no one's talking about it anymore. And more importantly, Trump is not talking about it anymore. That's why this is number 3 on the countdown.
He talked about it shortly after, but yeah, I hear you.
It was an intro to his neck. He had the thing on the ear. I'll give you that. That happened. It was a very stagey moment. The thing on his ear. He mentions it, and before you know it, before that speech was even over, he's already into his ad-libbing, and he's already away from it. He's done with it. He's moved on, and he never goes back to it.
He looked like a Doberman pitcher, just got his ears pointed up when he was walking those fucking Republican conventions. So.
Yeah. So when do you think the deep state selected Trump? Because I was under the impression you thought it was when that Adelson money came in, which was after this event, correct?
Dude, there's so many other things that could have happened. So you know what I'm saying?
Okay. We don't want to spend too much time debating it, but the point is, it's interesting how
they knew 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't know. I mean, you don't know. It's just it's a tricky, weird situation, you know. So
okay. I will end it with that. I'll end number 3 with this. I fully believe that they did not want Trump in, and that didn't work out. So they said, you know what, guys, time for plan B, and they went all in with him. That's and you can see that weird time frame in July. Go back to it when you guys can go back to this timeline. July.
Those are Matt's opinions.
These are my opinions.
Way I believe that whatsoever.
These are my opinions, but the mid-July happenings happened so quickly. The switch out, we call it the coup Obama and Pelosi did on Biden, getting him to push that letter through, doing the switch out. We saw earlier in the show Kamala's little stroll through the headquarters. She was swapped out. They knew she wasn't going to win. I think you agree with me on this. The whole point was to stage this opposition against Trump. They never intended for her to win. But all of those decisions were made in a week, within the week after that assassination attempt. So we will always go back and look at this thing, and I will always wonder why it's not talked about more. And when Trump brings it up, he says, Iran tried to kill me. And you know, and he knows that he's lying when he says that.
Yep.
Okay. That's it for 3. We got 2 big stories left, guys. 2
Number
big stories
2.
left.
Here we go. 3 hours for this thing. Let's go.
All right. All right, here we go. Coming in at number 2.
All of the COVID conspiracies came true.
Whoa.
And they're still coming true, and people aren't talking about them, and they're still advertising their shot, and they're still encouraging people to take your shot. We open up the show with Kathy Holtzkel, and the thing that's so crazy about it is that their own documentation, Pfizer, is some of the most alarming, truth-telling documentation. They lied about things. Now they're trying to say that all these people lied to Donald Trump, and that's why he gets passed on these things. But it is, some of the most damaging information is the truth information in their own documentation.
Yeah. Yeah. And the list is a mile long of everything they lied about. Everything they lied about. Let's just look at a couple of them, because Fauci admits to this. Like it's not even a question. Fauci goes right to Congress and says the 6-foot social distancing rule was completely made up. And now he didn't use this verbiage, but this is what you conclude from his testimony. It was completely made up and had zero scientific basis. It's incredible. So many people, scientists included, were completely ostracized, silenced, and prevented from even talking about the sketchiness of the rule. The public is right to be skeptical of any health mandates. This is just 2 of the things. This was just, the other one isn't on here on this one. The masks, completely made up. We know that. And he was all over the place on that. Those are just 2 examples. There's so many more.
He's saying you can be skeptical, Matt, but he's not saying that they're going to stop. Like, he's not going to say that the health mandates are going to stop. You can be skeptical of it, but they're still coming down with it. They're going to still push the shots. They're going to still tell them to get them and everything. You know what I'm saying? So be skeptical all you want. I mean, this guy's exposed himself so many times. That is not true. But if it was true, it would be happening in North Carolina. I'm like, what? You just admitted that you were guilty. You said it's not true, but if it is true, like, I mean, you said that in one sentence when Rand Paul was questioning your ass.
Yeah. And he just keeps maneuvering around it, and they're whip. As you guys know, they're bringing Peter Hotez out again. They're bringing this Chen woman out again. They're trying to They're trying to do the same thing with bird flu right now. But all what we were considered, all the conspiracy theories, like you're called crazy for thinking they made up stuff. They made up the 6 feet rule. They made up masks. They made up the lockdowns, one size fits all. They made up that the schools needed to be shut down. They made up that all of a sudden herd immunity didn't exist. All of a sudden, obtaining immunity on your own didn't exist. All of a sudden, the vaccines that you needed 10 years of data for, all of a sudden you could whip it out under a year. All of a sudden, gain of function said that it wasn't wet market, it was gain of function. So all these things all of a sudden, COVID conspiracies came true every single time. They say now, if you guys want to be on top of it, if you guys missed it the first time and you want to be on top of it the next time, which it looks like it's coming with the bird flu thing, the advice I would give you and others would give you on Twitter, they would say, make sure you have at least one conspiracy theorist friend at your side, because they're going to be able to tell you what to do next, since they got everything right the first time through. So that's the advice to you guys that are just seeing this now for the first time. Did I miss anything of the else that came true? Oh, I think I did. I missed the part about what actually happened when you took this experimental jab. That was the worst. Oh, that's the worst part.
Just look at the Pfizer papers. Go to Naomi Wolf's stuff. You can go look them over there. Brooke Jackson did a lot of work on that too. We've had Brooke Jackson on the show.
Yeah.
I've talked to Naomi Wolf several times on AM Wake Up. We used to have her on the show all the time. I mean, look, the thing that really should baffle everybody and really move them to a position of, all right, we can't do this anymore, is the fact is that they have qualified immunity. There's no liability for them. Right. And if they have no liability, and this is something that the left knew that Johnson & Johnson killed people with mesothelioma in Africa, and the way they experimented on people, they understood what Pfizer was all about. Right. I mean, why do they still have protection? They have protection when it comes to the big tech has the protection when it comes to their speech, right? Section 230 of the NDAA says that they can pretty much not be held accountable for anything that's said on their platforms, but they're still picking winners and losers. They get protection. They get it in big pharma. They're completely no liability for anything that happens. So the fact that this is still going on, that alone should make you go, wait a second, there's no liability. They still are using emergency use authorization. They're still pushing stuff through. Enough is enough. If they want to push out any product, they need to be held accountable. In other words, somebody could sue them, but they can't. And it's the fact that they're still pushing that with these protections. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, 100%. So, and of course, you guys watching us, and you've been, loyal viewers, and you've been curious. You've been asking the right questions. You could say we're all vindicated, but there's nothing celebratory about being right about these things. This is not something we celebrate. I believe it was Scott Horton who tried to pretend that all you COVID conspiracy theorists, you were right, take your win. We all were wrong.
Scott
you were
Horton,
right.
Scott Adams.
Oh, Scott Adams. Yeah.
Big difference.
Sorry about that. Big difference.
We didn't fuck with you, Scott Horton. We love you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Take it easy
sorry,
on the Dr. Pepper.
Sorry,
Mr.
Scott Horton.
I do like still.
Sincere apologies, Scott Horton. Scott Adams. This is a sentiment shared with a lot of people.
Adams, right?
Yeah, right. No, but the guy he's the Dilbert guy, right? So he thought he has this attitude. A lot of people do that have that. That frustration that they were on the wrong side, and they want to believe that we're all cheering and having parties about this. No, this is not okay. We're not okay. Nobody's okay with this being true. Nobody is. This is nothing to celebrate. So I just wanted to make that point as well. So that's the number 2. You ready to do the number 1 and get the hell out of here?
Let's do it. Let's get the music going, Jayme. Number 1 censored story of the year. Thank you for joining the Homeless Left Pasta to Go show. That number 1 story is the plan for Greater Israel revealed. AIPAC and the Zionist controls everything. This has a lot to do with the falling of Syria that nobody's talked about it. That was an actual coup in less than 2 weeks. This happened. And all of a sudden, Israel is now 25 kilometers away from Damascus. They have bombed Syria more times than any time in history. Turkey has come down from above and kind of brought a lot of their troops all the way down too as well. They've carved it up, and people have talked about this a long time ago, and it's barely even talked about inside the media. In fact, the mainstream media was calling the new leader in Syria, the one that's not Israel and it's not Turkey, the new president, they said, of Syria, Jalani. The new president. I mean, they're just, if there's ever a cover-up of anything, this is it right here. This should expose them for who they are. Yeah. And the things that are not talked about is the fact that now Lebanon is done, right? Here's the map. Now Lebanon is done because Lebanon gets no love, no help, no support from Syria. Same with Gaza. The resistance has fallen. The resistance has fallen. End of story.
This is... I knew whichever one we chose to be number 1, Craig, we weren't going to end on a high note, because this is the realization, and a lot of people had it this year because they didn't know, right? So like October 7th happened end of last year, right? And so we had this idea, we're going to figure this out. Biden, and there's going to be some closure here. When really it was the opposite effect. We saw Netanyahu, and we saw what the plan just got more exposed out in the open, as if these secret conversations and behind closed doors, and people weren't paying attention before. And Netanyahu had that famous reveal that he had said from decades ago in the 90s. He'd said Americans are stupid; they're going to go with anything. We have 80% of them love whatever we do. We don't have to really do much to protect our narrative of Greater Israel. Well, what we saw this year in 2024, and the reason why this is the number 1 story, is that there's people looking at this now going, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. I knew that Gaza was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. I knew Lebanon was bad. Wasn't that bad. I knew there was something weird about Syria when that was going on a few years ago. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know that when it came down to it, when you're out of excuses, when you're out of it's Hamas, we got to get Hamas, and we got to get the hostages back. When you're out of it's Hezbollah, we got to get Hezbollah. when you're out of all your little lame excuses, all you have left is this annihilation of the people around you, because you feel that you're entitled to all this land, the greater Israel. It's the scripture says it. It's something that you are the chosen one, the chosen ones. This adage, this is something that's being revealed to people. They didn't know. And now they know. So what do we do with this information now, Craig? We have more people. I think that's the silver lining here, is that more people are aware. We can have this discussion. I don't think we could have been as vocal about this a year and a half ago. I don't think so. I don't know if you were. I know we barely had started our show back then, but I don't remember starting the Homeless Left a year and a half ago and saying, let's talk about the plan for Greater Israel. We weren't doing that. And I think if we had, I think we would have had a lot of people go, wait a minute, man, what are you guys doing here? So that would be my silver lining in the story, is that we can actually talk about this. We can get angry. We can get mad. We get angry at our elected officials that they're all in on this. This is the ultimate conspiracy of all of them, because they all are part of AIPAC. They all take money. They all call it dual citizenship. It's not dual citizenship. It's single citizenship to Israel. America's always second. Always second. It's not dual. Israel's always first, and it's for both parties. Every single person. I know Thomas Massey's the only one that doesn't take the AIPAC money, but every other one does. So the good news is at least we can have this conversation now. I want to at least end with that kind of positive thought, that we can take that into 2025. A louder movement, a louder resistance, a larger global resistance against this capture that we see we're living through our entire lives.
Look, I mean, we're going to have to get back out in the streets again, right? And that's what's going to have to happen. People see what's going on a regular basis over there. They just don't care anymore. They're checked out. Yeah. You know, and I think that the people have to understand that shows like this that get censored or taken down, a lot of this particular topic is the reason why it could have been the driving force of why they took us down, which means why we need a transparent playing field. We have to understand, if this is the public square, instead of sitting there kissing Elon's ass, oh, you brought back free speech. Well, let him show all his algorithms. Let YouTube do it. If they get protection from the government, then we should be able to see. They've entered into an agreement with we the people should be able to see. Because if talking about issues like this, and the reason why they control so much of the media and they're able to suppress stories, I mean, the fact that this is the number one story, and I agree with you 100%, and it's going on every single day, and they just took a big chunk of land 25 kilometers away from Damascus. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. And nobody's saying anything. And I couldn't believe, I was just blown away the way it fell so quickly. And we just have to find a way to push through and talk about it as much as we can. You know, don't support it. Don't make it a third rail. Don't stand with fucking Zionists. Fight back against them.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think we have to keep at this into 2025. Expect us to be back on all of our platforms, being stronger, more determined on what our purpose can be. We can do more of what we're doing. We can double down. We can get into more of the streets, more of the, more of these moments in time where you want to be on the right side of history. You want to be for the people. We're going to do that. We have an obligation to do that because we've already gone this far. So we do appreciate everybody being on board with us as we make this happen into 2025. So I want to be optimistic. I want to be hopeful that we can make some leadway. And we have people around the globe on our side. We have the people waking up around the entire country and the entire world. It's pretty remarkable how many people are in the streets for this issue.
Once you understand that they are not journalists and media professionals, but rather actors and operatives, right? Paid actors and operatives, things will start to make sense. There it is, the they live picture, right?
There's
your AIPAC lobbyist.
There it is. Well, I guess that.
Whoa.
Whoa, what a year. What a year it's been. 2024. Craig, man, this is I know we have tomorrow's the countdown to New Year's. I want everybody should try and have a good time and do the things we like to do. The whole I have New Year's resolution. Try and apply better things, better ideas, goals, all that stuff for next year. But when we look at the world we live in, we look at our society and we see the division, we see all the hate and the confusion and the information being suppressed and us being out there trying to push conversations, push discourse, talk about things, be curious that we're the ones being punished for doing that. It can be disheartening. It can be frustrating. But we have to just keep at it, and we have to make our New Year's resolutions to do even more. And if we learn lessons along the way, this we could try this, or we might have aha moments along the way, and we go, hey, here's a new idea of how we can build a bigger movement, or how we can build more awareness. Let's apply those. Let's make those aha moments. Let's make those our New Year's resolutions, so we can be even stronger and smarter and wiser as we move forward into the fight of 2025. Which, it's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one.
I think that's too the way I'm approaching the situation. I mean, a million thanks to you, Matt and Jayme, for being by my side. It's been a challenging year. 3 people that I love dearly, getting cancer or a stroke. I mean, it's just been holy shite in that sense of the way. Dealing with a case, a child custody case that has just been mind blowing and heartbreaking in some ways. And the whole thing, I've told you this before too. I think I told you this at your wedding that, man, you saved me. You and Jayme were there. I was ready to quit. I said, I can't do this anymore. The opportunity to maybe get a contract with RT or Sputnik flew out the window as I'm in Miami doing my hair and makeup, ready to go on the Rick Sanchez show, filling in for Manila Chan. And all of a sudden we're hearing about these sanctions. And I just come from DC, where I was hanging out with Jayme, going into the studios, just trying to say, hey man, I want to find a way to do this moving forward. Things look so dark. They look so bleak. The situation with my mom was also just a shot right across the bow. It really was really stunning. And I don't want to just escape to 2024 because it's been a bad year and get to 2025. I think I just have to go forth, and we have to all realize that, we're going to have to face these adversities along the way. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if we're really committed to the work, we don't stop. We keep doing it, and at my worst, darkest times this year, I found a way to just hold on. And, there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. Wednesday, I'll be doing a live show on WBAI. I've done it twice now. We did it last Thursday. We did it the Wednesday before. We opened up the phone lines. We were able to talk about Luigi Marioni. We were able to talk about immigration. I'm going to try to make that work as best we can. We still have this thing going on Thursdays. If we're talking more with Fee to see if she can get more involved. So we're going to just continue to move forward, and we're going to go to the stories and bring them back to you, because that's the only way to get it done. The mainstream media is not our friend. They are the enemy of the people. They keep you in the dark. Too many people are duped by them. And we got to continue to do what we can do, even at whatever capacity we can afford to do it. I think there's a lot on our shoulders, but I'm willing to meet that challenge and take it on and fulfill my task.
Man, thank you, Craig. You have been an inspiration for me. Jayme, thank you. With what you guys have been doing, you set a high bar. You set an example. You inspire us to do what we're doing here. And Leslie being part of this movement, and all the others. We've had so many great contributors throughout this year, particularly because I didn't know.
It was fun, right?
Yeah.
It would have been nice if Kit was here tonight, because he was in Chicago, and that thing was the best thing I think we did in Chicago when him and Daniel came over. It was just holy cow.
It was pretty incredible seeing all of us together, doing that actual round table. That was awesome. Getting in the streets with the Palestinian protesters, that was awesome. It makes you feel like there's more we can do. Like we can keep going and do this in whatever incarnation it looks like, whatever special team up show, event, live this, election this or that, whatever it is, we will find a way to go at it in an honest way with integrity and with courage and conviction and present it to you guys out there the best we can. And so we need you out there.
Don DeBar, by the way, Don, special love to Don DeBar now.
Yeah.
Friend. Special love to our boy in Serbia. You know what I'm saying?
Sasha, yeah. Thank you, Sasha.
Special love to him.
And Stephanie has been great, and
Stephanie's been awesome. Leslie has just been amazing. Yeah. Special love to all those people who been with me along this journey. I've been doing it for like 7 years now. So some crazy ups, some crazy downs, but I can say this confidently. The story is still just in the beginning right now. So
appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship and getting our back here at Homeless Left, and we got yours too, Craig, through everything you're going through, ups and downs. To get through the hard times and to celebrate the good times and keep going. So that's what we're about. So
that's it. Let's sign off now.
We'll go ahead and sign off. And
enough of the sweet talk, ladies. We got a game to win. Water boy.
I think that's all. I think we're good. Power to
Hot
people.
dogs. Who?
Hell yeah, power to the people. Jayme, you can go ahead and play us off. I think we're good. I just think, yeah, power to the people. We'll see you guys in 2025. Yeah, bigger, better, and stronger, and ready to go more than ever.
Going.
Yeah,
More-
have a great New Year's,
more
guys.
knowledge.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Love you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.
Censored News of the Year.